What if Deku became the sin of greed?
Hello everyone, welcome to What If Deku Got Banned Sin of Greed Powers movie. Before we start, please go support SmilpionVoorhees for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistaken characters' gender, but of course Deku is a male. Clarifications. Izuku will have a sister and will be despised by his family, but Bakugo, I think it was written like that, will defend him. I'm going to use the manga ban but less cheated. Do they want Izuku to have a quirk in addition to Ban's powers or just Ban's powers? Izuku won't have the one for all, comment who you would like to have it. Izuku's attitude will be like Ban's. Prologue. 3 green-haired boys can be seen waiting for the doctor in a hospital. There was a 4-year-old green-haired boy, a 4-year-old green-haired girl, and a woman who is the mother of the 2 children. After a while, the doctor arrived, looking rather serious. "Doctor? I'll be direct with you, there are 2 pieces of news, one good and one bad. Which one do you want to hear?" said the doctor with a serious tone. "Inko. Please tell me the good news first." "Doctor? Your daughter has a pyrokinesis quirk." This would make Inko very happy, but then she would hear something she didn't like at all. "Doctor? The bad thing is that seeing Izuku, sadly your son doesn't have a quirk." Inko would be shocked since her son was quirkless. She would look at poor Izuku with disgust and hatred, just like Izumi, Izuku's sister, only she would only look at him with disgust. Izuku did not realize this since he was very sad, since his dream was to be a hero. "Inko. Thank you, doctor, I'm leaving so as not to waste any more of your time." He left the place with a bad taste in his mouth. Upon arriving home, Izuku asked his mother if he could be a hero, but she answered him. "Inko. Don't say stupid things, you useless bastard, you're just a hindrance, a piece of shit," he said with great anger. "Now go to your room before I get angrier with you." Izuku with enormous sadness goes to his room without first receiving a series of insults from Izumi, causing him to cry, as if there was no tomorrow as soon as he entered his room. Time skip. A month had passed, and during this month, almost the entire school, Izumi and Inko, hit him and insulted him every day. The only ones who didn't mistreat Izuku were Mitsuki, Bakugo's mother, and Bakugo himself, who had given him his support and friendship from the beginning. Bakugo tried to defend him, and Mitsuki fed him on occasion and healed some of his wounds. Time skip. 6 years would pass from the day they told him he didn't have a quirk. Due to the abuse from his mother and sister, he ended up with many scars, and even these were in vital areas, but that day they did something unforgivable that they would later regret. It all started with Izuku being helped by Bakugo to get to his house because he was seriously injured since Izuku received a beating from Uraraka, Lita, Momo, Kaminari, Mina, Izumi and Mineta. Author's note. Some of the characters from Class 1A met before UA. Bakugo. "Okay Deku, we arrived." Izuku. "Thank you very much Kachin, see you tomorrow," he said with a smile. Bakugo. "Are you sure you don't want your wounds to be treated?" he said with a worried tone in his voice. Izuku. "Don't worry Kachin, I'll be fine," he said with a huge smile, but in reality he was very sad and happy. Sad because nobody in his family loved him, but happy because he had a friend whom he appreciated a lot as well as his mother, Mitsuki. Bakugo. "Okay nerd, then see you tomorrow," he said and then resignedly left. Izuku. "See you tomorrow Kachin," he said with a fake smile and then entered his house. Upon entering his house he received a blow from Inko, who said to him. "Inko. You arrived late, you useless bastard," she said with hatred in her voice, and then began to throw various objects at him with her quirk, causing one of these objects to cause a large wound on Izuku's neck. Inko, seeing this, asked Izumi for help to help her take Izuku to a place to finally finish him off. After 45 minutes they arrived at a bridge where almost no one passed. They went under the bridge to start hitting it with sticks, knives and stones, so that in the end, Inko asked Izumi to incinerate it to kill it, or so they believed, so that in less than 1 minute they had left the place. Incredibly, after 5 minutes, Izuku had already finished healing completely, leaving him with his scars and a new one, which was his last wound, the one on his neck, and a scar that seemed curious to him because it had the shape of a fox with a star on its tail. He would be in shock because he thought he had died until he heard a voice that made him come out of shock. "Are you okay, brat? Training and one more reason to fight." After Izuku woke up, he heard someone ask him. "Hey brat, are you okay?" Izuku. "I don't know, who are you?" he asked a still unknown man with some distrust. "Ban. My name is Ban, the Fox of Greed, also known as Ban the Undead," he said with some pride and melancholy after remembering all the moments with the sins and his beloved. Izuku. "Nice to meet you, my name is Izuku just Izuku," he said sadly as he remembered that his mother told him that he was never her son, just a damn useless man who had no family. Ban. "Well. Izuku. Mr. Ban, do you know what happened to me? I mean I should be dead since as I remember, I was walked alive, he said with great sadness in both his words and his face. Ban. I saved you. Izuku. How did you do it? He asked with great curiosity. Ban. My power is called Snatch, which allows me to steal both physical energy and material objects of any size, but I can't only steal, I can also give abilities or energy to others. Izuku. Wow, that's it incredible. He said with stars in his eyes until he thought, but that doesn't answer how he cured me. Ban. I was going to say that due to certain events I ended up becoming immortal, what I did was give you my immortality, so you could cure yourself, note. Here Ban didn't give Elaine immortality at a request. Izuku. Why? That question took Ban by surprise since he wasn't expecting that question, especially from a 10-year-old boy. Ban. Because you deserve it. These words surprised Izuku until. Ban. You have an enormous kindness, despite what your family did to you, you don't hold a grudge against them, you remind me of myself as a child, he said the last part with melancholy remembering his past and Zhivago. Izuku. What do you mean Mr. Ban? Ban. Everything in due time little one anyway tell me, if they gave you a power what would you do with that power? Izuku thought for a few seconds until he answered. Izuku. I would use it to save the innocent from all evil that threatens them and make this world a better place, he said with great determination, leaving Ban somewhat surprised but at the same time very happy inside. Ban. I am very happy to hear that now I have a proposal. This left Izuku intrigued thinking about what it could be about. I propose to give you my snatch power, so you can fulfill your dream. This would make Izuku happy, but with one condition. This made Izuku somewhat nervous who just listened, that you swear on your life that you will do what I could not, and that is to save your beloved and protect her with your life, he said with some traitorous tears, remembering what happened to Elaine. Izuku. I promise you Mr. Ban that I will fulfill that oath since I will not let any innocent die in my presence, much less a loved one of mine. This surprised Ban, but made him very happy, knowing that he would not fail in that oath. Ban. Well Brad it's a deal, he said giving him one of his smiles. He extended his palm to Izuku, pointing it towards his chest, so that Izuku felt a strange sensation in his body, and then Ban spoke to him. Ban. I gave you my snatch power. Leaving Izuku somewhat surprised but at the same time excited and happy before Izuku did anything, Ban spoke. Ban. I'm going to train you for these 5 years to teach you how to use my power, and I will also teach you how to use my sacred treasure, and I will teach you a technique that an old friend taught me as well as sword handling, note. Here Ban learned the full counter in his time in purgatory and Meliodas taught him sword handling. Izuku. Of course Ban-sensei. He said with great determination. Here I'm going to put what Naruto did each year of training, since it would be too much to explain in detail, and also because I'm lazy. Year 1. In this year Izuku trained physically increasing a lot his strength, resistance, speed and reflexes, getting to be almost at the same level as All Might in his prime, surpassing him only just. Ban also taught him to be stealthy, and also took care of the theory, so that he wouldn't be an idiot. Note. Izuku obtained an enormous knowledge thanks to Ban's years of wisdom, and he was educating him as if he were his own son, as Zhivago did with Ban, only without teaching him to steal. Year 2. In this year Izuku learned to use Snatch and also its techniques being Hunter Fest, Fox Hunt, I think it was like that, and Zero Sight, also learning to give energy and not just steal it. Year 3. In this year Izuku learned to use the sword and some chacos divided into 3 made of steel. More or less like these. Year 4. In this year Izuku was granted Ban's sacred treasure, the divine staff Karachusi. And he also learned the full counter, mastering both Meliodas and Estarosa's full counter, male, only those who read the manga will understand this. He also learned the revenge counter, and Ban told him his story of how he had to steal to live, how he met Zhivago, when he met Elaine, his life with the Sins and about the Britannia Holy War. This shocked Izuku as he was surprised that Ban had suffered all that, and by being so happy and calm, it made him understand that Ban was someone to admire, being his new role model. Year 5. In this year Izuku learned to use Ban's sacred treasure and learned how to make the most of it. He also began to be more like Ban, speaking in his way of being and in his attitude. He also found out that in not long the entrance exams to UA would be, note. The exams will be 1 month before Izuku's birthday. After that time, Izuku was preparing for the exam. During this time, Izuku and Ban grew closer, developing a father-son relationship. Izuku changed his name to Izuku of Greed, paying homage to his father, and now being the bearer of the sin of greed. Then you can see an Izuku in front of the UA ready to take the entrance exam. Izuku. After so much, I'm finally here, he said with a big smile. Repentance and a love that overcomes death. We focused on a house where 2 feminine-looking silhouettes could be seen, one older than the other with emerald-colored hair and eyes. I think it's not necessary to say who I'm referring to. I forgot to mention that this happened the day after Izuku was killed. Izumi. Mom. I'm going to school now. Inko. Okay daughter, if the teachers ask you about Izuku just tell them that he was sick and is hospitalized. Izumi. But can I tell my friends that we killed the useless one? Inko. If they don't tell anyone it's okay, I don't want to get in trouble because of that useless one. Izumi. Okay mom, see you later. Inko. Take care of yourself, see you later. Already at school the teachers asked about Izuku, Izumi being the excuse that his mother told him. The teachers believed it, but Izumi's friends had not believed that lie, so during the break time they interrogated Izumi. Ichako. Now tell us Izumi what happened to the useless. Haminari. Yes, now tell us what happened to him. Izumi. Fine, I'll tell them, just don't tell anyone. Everyone. Okay. Without everyone noticing, there was a gray-haired boy hiding, listening to everything they were talking about because he wanted to know what had happened to his best friend. Izumi. First we hit him until we got tired and then we charred him so he wouldn't bother us anymore. Everyone was surprised but happy to know that they would no longer be bothered by the useless man, except for two, which were Bakugo and Mina. Bakugo felt very sad but angry with himself for not having been there to save his friend, causing him to have enormous hatred towards him for having done that, and because they were happy about that news, and this Mina did not look happy about this. In fact she looked shocked and somewhat worried, since she did not want to believe that that had really happened to her. This was not taken into account by anyone except Bakugo, who when he saw her, knew that she never wanted that to happen, so Mina asked. Mina. Are you serious? She said with a slightly shaky and nervous voice, which was only noticed by Bakugo. Izumi. Of course I'm serious, in fact, that's why I'm happier than usual. Mina couldn't believe that this had really happened to Izuku. She bothered him, but she never wanted it to happen to him, getting sad and leaving the place before they noticed. When she left the place she saw Bakugo crying for his best friend, making Mina feel worse than she already felt. Bakugo had become very depressed, and when he got home he told everything to his mother, who was devastated since she considered Izuku as her own son. He also stopped associating with the Midoriyas, gaining a great hatred towards them. Mina was very depressed because when she told her parents how she bothered Izuku, her parents scolded her and told her that it was not right. She had understood that he was always rejected and what he suffered because his family had started to ignore her so that she could understand what he felt. Year 1. 1 year after Izuku's death in the Midoriya house, who felt that they were missing something, they tried to deny those thoughts, and Inko decided to get a boyfriend since she believed that was what they were missing. On the other hand, Izumi's friends began to feel that something was missing. They believed it was because they no longer had to bother Izuku, so they tried bothering someone else. Year 3. In this year the Midoriyas realized that they really missed Izuku, and they began to regret their actions. Note. In year 2 one did not end up with his partner for reasons that not even the author himself knows XD. Izumi's friends began to regret everything they did to him, except for Uraraka, who didn't care about anything besides getting money, and his main source was Mineta, who also didn't care about Izuku. Year 5 shortly before the UA entrance exams. Everyone was sorry for what they had done to Izuku, but they had hopes of finding him, since when Izumi and Inko went to look for their son's body to bury him, they realized that he had not died, since there were footsteps of two people, and some of those footprints matched the size of Izuku's foot, causing relief to Izumi and Inko, since they had the hope of meeting their son Ani-chan again, to be able to apologize and redeem themselves from their sins. Let's jump in time to the day after Izuku was killed. There was a girl with purple hair on her way home being a little sad because at school, they make fun of her for being short, flat, looking like a tomboy, and because her earlobes seemed to have headphone jacks, also because her clothes instead of being bright colors were mostly black or very dark colors. While she was on her way home, she was followed by two men who wanted to kidnap her. When she realized it she unintentionally entered a dead end. When she realized this she panicked. Man 1. Don't resist, we're going to have fun with you and then take you to the boss hahaha. Man 2. Let's get this over with quickly haha. The girl closed her eyes out of fear, but suddenly she heard a girl's voice. She thought she was a little smaller than her, she still didn't open her eyes, then she felt a draft in the alley, and then only the two men fell were heard. Then the girl opened her eyes seeing in front of her a blonde-haired girl with eyes the same color as her hair looking at her with some curiosity. Girl. Etu, who are you? She said with some fear in her words. With a smile she replied. Elaine. My name is Elaine, nice to meet you. Seeing that the girl was scared, he decided to calm her down. Calm down, I'm not going to hurt you Kayaka. Jiro. How do you know my name? She said scared. Elaine. Sorry for scaring you, I can read minds, and that's why I knew your name. Jiro. Oh okay, she said calmer, and what are you doing here? She asked curiously. Elaine. I came looking for someone with a noble heart and very kind, she said with a tender smile. Jiro. And have you found her? She said curiously. Elaine. Of course Kayaka-san. Jiro. Please tell me, I swear, and who is that person and what are you going to do with that person? Elaine. I'm going to give her my powers so she can defend her beloved and never give up and fulfill her dream of doing good, she said with a big smile and determination. Also I'm going to give her to master her powers and teach her everything, Jiro. And who in the lucky one? Elaine. That's you, Jiro, she said with a big smile. Jiro. What? Why me? She asked, being surprised and intrigued. Elaine. You are someone really kind, noble, you are good, besides that you are the best person I've met in years. Jiro was impressed since he hadn't expected that response, making her shed some treacherous tears. Elaine knew she was happy since at home they didn't pay much attention to her because of her parents' concerts and events, and at school she wasn't loved, on the contrary, she was a victim of bullying. He swore he would have jumped on Elaine to hug her and then say, Elaine. I'm going to give you my powers and abilities so that you can master them and so that you can find the successor of my beloved. Jiro. And why should I look for him? I ask with curiosity. Elaine. You are my successor and he is the successor of my beloved. It is very likely that you two will fall in love like we did, she said with a smile and noticeable joy. After that, 5 years would have passed where Jiro learned to use the powers that Elaine possessed. Note. I do not remember Elaine's abilities, so if you could tell me the name of the abilities you want Jiro to have, I would greatly appreciate it. And he also learned the story of Elaine as guardian of the Fountain of Youth and the forest of the great King Ada, how she met Ban and the promise she made to him. Jiro became sentimental when he heard Elaine's story, since it was a very beautiful and sad story. He also swore he explained his situation, and Elaine's. They were surprised at first, but were happy to know that their daughter, unlike before, now did look truly happy. We meet on the day of the UA entrance exam where she was, I swear, a little nervous because according to Elaine today she was going to meet Ban's successor and she was nervous to know what he was like. But because she was so focused on her thoughts she didn't notice an unevenness in the floor and tripped over it. Before she touched the floor she felt arms holding her to prevent her from hitting the floor and being taken out of her thoughts by the individual's question. Hey, are you okay? Entrance exam and first day. After the events mentioned in the previous 2 chapters, you can see a violet-haired girl being held by a green-haired man, since the violet-haired girl had tripped and was taken out of her thoughts by a question. Hey, are you okay? Jiro. Why yeah, I'm fine, she said, somewhat nervous by the position they were in. Izuku. I'm glad you're okay, let me introduce myself, my name is Izuku of Greed and yours. She said while letting go of Jiro. Jiro. A little more relaxed, nice to meet you Izuku-kun, my name is Kuoka Jiro. Izuku. Nice to meet you Kayaka-chan, she said with a smile similar to Ban's, making Jiro start to wonder if she had any relation with the ancient sin of greed. But before she could continue thinking about that, Izuku says goodbye to her and then enters because he saw that Ichako was arriving and since he didn't want to talk to her, he decided to leave quickly. Kayaka was surprised by Izuku's behavior, but what really bothered her now was knowing if he was the successor of the sin of greed, but in the end, she decided to worry about that another time since she had to worry about taking the exam and passing it. Then we focused on a room where all the exam participants were after having done the theoretical exam. I did not put the theory because nothing occurred to me, and also that would be boring from my point of view. Who stood out the most among all was a boy with a denim vest with a hat which the boy was wearing. The black t-shirt and tight red pants, the pants are the ones they wore in the first season. This was Izuku, and he was with his head looking down, and next to him, there was a Ashen-haired boy who looked angry since he met Ichako, and this noble taste of her presence. In the head of the Ashen-haired boy he began to imagine the 1001 ways to kill the chestnut, that was for a while, until a question from Izuku took him out of his thoughts. Izuku. Why are you so thoughtful and angry? Bakugo. What do you care, damn extra? He said with a touch of anger. Izuku. Is this how you treat your friend Kachin? This shocked Bakugo, who wanted to ask him something but couldn't since Present Mick had arrived in the room and proceeded to explain the physical exam. Present Mick. The exam will consist of destroying robots which are worth points. These are 3, the first is worth 1 point, the second is worth 2 points and the third is worth 3 points. You will have 10 minutes to get the highest score possible. He sees someone raise their hand, right? Giving him permission to speak, Lita. Excuse me, but you only mentioned 3 robots, and the brochure says 4, if this is a mistake, you should be ashamed coming from the best hero school like UA, and you, turning to look at Izuku. You should take this seriously since we came here to be great heroes not to play. He says this because Izuku was playing Angry Birds on his phone, more or less like Ted when he is in court, movie. Ted 2. Izuku turns off his game to turn to look at Ida. Izuku. 1. I was paying attention, but I started playing when you started talking. 2. I'm more than sure that Present Mick was about to explain about the fourth robot when you interrupted him and 3. Don't ever speak to me again, you damn lost cousin of Sonic. After this, Present Mick decided to calm them down and proceed to explain about the fourth robot. Afterwards, all the candidates can be seen in front of a large door waiting for it to start. This time, Izuku would be looking for Jiro and avoiding Ichako and Lita as much as possible, since he didn't want to even see them. The moment the doors opened, Izuku ran out and began destroying 3 and 2-point robots. The others were left strange until I introduced myself and spoke. Present Mick. Are you waiting for an invitation to enter? Get in now or that boy will get all the points. After the Present Mick shout, the contestants began to race to destroy robots. After 9 minutes, Izuku had already earned 120 points, leaving the rest of the robots to the others. Meanwhile, in the camera room, where the teachers and director were watching everything, they began to talk about something quite interesting. Midnight. That boy is incredible, seeing Izuku who was resting, he has already broken the record that Almight set. Nezu. Let's see what he does against this. At that moment, Nezu pressed a button. Let's see what happens in the test. Izuku. How boring. I expected something more difficult, he said this while playing Clash of Clans with his phone. At that moment, a great tremor is felt, causing Izuku to fail in his attack on another village, somewhat surprising Izuku since he was not expecting the tremor, thinking that was it, until he was taken out of his thoughts by the scream of an extra. I want to clarify that Izuku has not taken off his hood to avoid being recognized by others. Extra 1. Run, it's 0 points. Extra 2. Run for your lives. Extra 3. It's huge. How scary. Izuku was going to ignore 0 points until he heard someone asking for help. He began to look around for who was asking for help until he saw a blonde-haired girl who had her legs under several rubble and was also about to be crushed by 0 points, so Izuku used his fox hunt ability with the help of his 3 chacos to save the girl as quickly as possible, and after doing that he used Hunter Fest and then jumped to the hide of the robot to destroy it with a blow from his chacos. The others were impressed by that, but Uraraka and Sonic's lost cousin were more impressed since when he hit his hood fell off revealing his face. When he fell, he went to help the blonde-haired girl take her to the infirmary carrying her like a princess, causing a huge blush for the girl. Then Recovery Girl arrives to the place who had told the boy that if he could take the girl down to be able to cure her by kissing her on the legs girl, so that after a few seconds her legs would heal. Lita and Uraraka wanted to ask Izuku what that quirk was, but Uraraka wanted it for herself to use as a bodyguard. Izuku realizing this used his zero sight technique to get out of there as quickly as possible and to avoid having to talk to Lita and Uraraka since he saw that they were approaching him. A few minutes later you can see Izumi talking to Ichako and Lita, the main topic being Izuku. Lita and Ichako told Izumi that they had seen Izuku and what he did against him 0 points and the techniques he used, which would have shocked Izumi, who always used the excuse that her brother was quirkless and that's why they mistreated him, but now she felt terrible since apparently her brother did have a quirk. After a few hours, Izumi would have arrived home quite depressed and excited to tell Inko everything. At first, she was happy to know that her son was alive, then shocked because her son always had a quirk and sad because according to what Uraraka told Izumi, he saw them with hatred and by the way he left, they understood that he did not want to talk to them. Time skip 1 week. During this week the results arrived and were accepted, the same ones that in the anime only include Izumi and Melissa. Passing that week would be the first day of classes for the future heroes. I forgot to say that Bakugo after the exam returned home telling his mother what the hooded man said, giving the 2 ash-haired ones hope that Izuku is alive. Let's focus on a house wherein Izuku was seen waking up a little late. Izuku? Crap. I'm going to be late. Man. Idiot. Hurry up or I'll kick you out. Izuku would have run out to avoid being late. After 5 minutes of running he would have arrived feeling like an idiot since there were still 15 minutes left for class to start and he forgot about his incredible speed. After that he opened the door seeing that Bakugo, Kayaka, Sato, Shoji, Kota, Jiro and Tokoyami were there. Bakugo would have been very surprised when he saw Izuku enter and then went to hug his best friend whom he thought was dead. Bakugo. While hugging him, tell me it's not a dream. Izuku. Returning the hug, this is real old friend, said with a smile. Bakugo couldn't believe that his best friend was really alive. Izuku. Let's sit down and I'll tell you everything. Bakugo. After 10 minutes, Izuku summarized his story of everything he lived through those 5 years to Bakugo, who was surprised by this, and when he was going to ask him something, 2 people arrived who were not well received. Momo. Ho hello Izuku. Mina. H how have you been? Both girls asked nervously. Izuku. If you take a step closer I won't be responsible for what happens to you, he said coldly to both girls. All those who were unaware of the story among them were surprised to hear this. Mina. Please just listen to what we want to tell you, she said on the verge of tears. Izuku. I'm going to listen to you just like you listened to me when I asked them to stop when they hit me, insulted me and burned me, is that okay with you? At this the two girls would decide to return to their places, which were somewhat far from Izuku's being sad, even to the point of crying in silence, but suddenly the door would have opened revealing those who were missing, which were Ichako, Lita, Izumi and Kaminari. Before they could go to greet Mina and Momo, who were visibly sad, would have appeared behind them a giant yellow mutant caterpillar from which their teacher came out. Izawa. If you came to make friends, you better leave. After saying this, everyone sat down. Fine, I'll be your teacher for the next 3 years. My name is Izawa and it may be a bit sudden, but put these on and go to the yard. While saying the last thing, he showed his PE uniform and then got back into his sleeping bag, then rolled on the floor, quickly moving away from them. They watched this with a drop of sweat on their necks, but they would have quickly gone to change, everything would have happened the same as in the anime until they were out. Izawa. Well, Izuku. At the moment of mentioning his name, everyone who knew Izuku from before would have tensed up because they believed he was dead, except for Bakugo, who seemed somewhat relaxed but at the same time happy because his friend was okay. On the other hand, Izumi was shocked because her brother was alive. Come forward since you were the highest in the entrance exam. Once Izuku stepped forward, Izawa gave him a ball. Izawa. How far was your distance in the ball throwing CQ? Izuku. I don't know. Izawa. Well then first throw this ball without your quirk and then with your quirk. Izuku would do as he was told, standing where Izawa told him and throwing the ball without his quirk, reaching 5 kilometers, leaving everyone shocked, even Izawa, who knew how to hide it. Then Izuku did the Hunter Fest to proceed to throw the ball, reaching 20 kilometers, which would have left everyone with their jaws on the floor. Izuku. Wow, and that's not even using all my strength or all my quirk. This almost gave everyone a heart attack until Izawa spoke up. Izawa. They're going to do different tests so I hope they give their all. Mina. This will be fun. Izawa. Do you think this is fun? He said looking at Mina in a challenging way, well if you think it's so fun whoever comes last will be expelled. This would make everyone nervous except Izuku, who knew that wouldn't happen to him. After that the tests began in which Izuku excelled in all of them and they continued like that until they finally finished. Izawa. Okay, here are your results, he said while pressing a button and then a hologram was shown showing everyone's places. 1 Izuku. 2 Bakugo. 3 Izumi. 4 Melissa. 5 Kayaka. 6 Todoroki. 7 Shoji. 8 Lita. 9 Kirishima. 10 Sato. 11 Jiro. 12 Momo. 13 Tsuyu. 14 Toru. 15 Tokoyami. 16 Uraraka. 17 Mina. 18 Aoyama. 19 Siro. 20 Kota. 21 Kaminari. 22 Mineta. Mineta. Nuo. I couldn't even touch a girl's breasts. Izawa. In fact Kaminari, Mineta you're expelled from UA. Kaminari. Nuo. But why me? Izawa. I already said. Izuku. Izawa-sensei, may I do the honors? Izawa. Please, signaling with his hand that he'll come in. Izuku would have done the Hunter Fest again. I forgot to explain that Izuku can occupy the Hunter Fest for 1 hour before it runs out and suffers the consequences, and then grab them by the head, and then kick them with all his strength, so that both students would fly away, disappearing into the horizon. After that, they returned to their classrooms and continued with their classes, which would have passed normally until dismissal time. A green-haired man and a pale-haired man can be seen at the entrance of the UA, until they are interrupted by a green-haired woman who would have called them. Izumi. Wait. Izuku. What do you want, Izumi? He said with a tone as cold as ice. Izumi. Oni-chan, let's go home together, okay? He would have said this with some nervousness since he didn't know if she would accept. Izuku. I don't know what you're talking about, I don't see your brother here as far as I remember, you killed your brother. Izumi. Please, Oni-chan please forgive us, he said on the verge of tears. Izuku. Ask your brother for forgiveness, oh no, I forgot he's dead, he would have said this with a funny smile, like bands. Izumi after hearing that would have started to cry, but both Izuku and Bakugo would have left the place ignoring Izumi. After that Bakugo invited Izuku to his house which he would have accepted since he was dying to see who he considered his mother. He clarified that Mitsuki's husband died due to an illness that he had. When Mitsuki arrived he got a huge surprise. Bakugo. I'm back, you old witch. Mitsuki. How are you F? She couldn't finish because when she saw Izuku with Bakugo, she threw herself at Izuku, who was surprised at first, but then hugged him back, while Mitsuki, unable to resist, began to cry in Izuku's arms. Izuku. I'm back Oka-san, I clarified that Mitsuki allowed him to say Oka-san to her 1 year before he was killed. Mitsuki. You don't know how much we miss you, son," she said this while hugging her adopted son even tighter as if her life depended on Izuku, while at the same time praying that this wasn't a dream. "Izuku. Calm down, I swear I won't leave again and leave you alone," making Mitsuki calm down. After that he explained everything that happened to him and what he lived during those 5 years. Mitsuki would have been surprised and much, since he did not expect that he had lived all that, but he was happy for his son since he got a father figure and also had someone who took care of him and who gave him the strength to fulfill his dream. After talking for a while, Izuku left, inviting them to come to his house tomorrow, giving them the address of his house. When Izuku arrived home, he explained to Ban that Mitsuki and Bakugo would be at his house tomorrow, making Ban happy to have met them again, and maybe he could also get along with them, ending his first day at UA. Training with All Might. The next day, a green-haired man and a pale-haired man are seen walking together towards the UA. They met halfway and decided to go together while talking, telling anecdotes about the 5 years they hadn't seen each other. Izuku. So we had a contest to see who could drink the most and we tied. Bakugo. But aren't you too young to drink? Izuku. After my training in Purgatory, no, I forgot to mention that Ban took Izuku to Purgatory to train him. Ban discovered a way to get to Purgatory and also to leave on his own. Bakugo. Why do you say that? Izuku. Because their time passes differently. Bakugo. What do you mean? Izuku. Their 1 year is 1 minute here. I was in that place for 1 month outside. In fact, I was 1860 years in Purgatory and the truth is, it was the worst thing I've ever suffered. Bakugo. And how is it possible that you're still alive? Izuku. Did you forget? I am immortal, that's why I'm still alive, and that's also why I was able to adapt to Purgatory. If you're wondering, since Ban was also immortal, he was able to adapt to Purgatory a long time ago, that's why he was able to enter Purgatory without problems, unlike me who took about 290 years. I don't remember how long it took Ban to adapt, so let's say it took him 200 years. Bakugo. Incredible. After a while they would have arrived at their classroom and sat down. While they waited for their sensei, they decided to start another conversation until a violet-haired girl with blonde locks arrived and approached the green-haired boy to ask him something. "Jiro. Ito, can I talk to you?" he said while pointing at Izuku and with some nerves. Izuku. "Sure, and tell me Izuku please," he said this with a big smile. Jiro. Forgetting the presence of Bakugo, asked his question. "Do you have any relationship with Ban the Sin of Greed?" Izuku. "Wait, do you know someone named Elaine?" Jiro. "So you are the descendant of Greed?" Izuku. Wow, Ban was right. This would leave Jiro with a doubt until he spoke again. "Both Elaine and her successor are very beautiful," he said this with a calm smile, leaving Jiro with a huge blush. Bakugo. "If you want privacy I can leave, or also if you want I can tell you the address of a hotel." This would have caused Izuku to blush and Jiro a not a level blush. Jiro. Izuku. "Shut up," saying this with a rather large sniffle. Meanwhile Bakugo was dying of laughter while he watched with great grace the responses of both of them, who began to calm down until Izuku said. Izuku. "I know it's a bit sudden, but would you like to go out with me on a Saturday?" Jiro. Blushing hugely, "I would love to," being on the verge of fainting. Izuku. "Give me your NMRP so we see can ST&T contact." Jiro with a noticeable blush would have given him his number and a kiss. After that Jiro left so that when he sat down he fainted. This was only noticed by Katsuki making fun of Izuku until the others arrived, which at first did not understand until Shoji explained it to them. Some were jealous, but more a blonde-haired girl and a brown-haired girl until the latter committed a great stupidity. "Ichako. How is that bitch trying to get between me and Izuku?" She screamed so loud that she even woke up Jiro and Izuku got really upset. Izuku. "Shut up, you damn bitch." This would have surprised everyone, even Bakugo. "You and I are nothing and there will never be anything between us, damn 3,000 yen. In front of everyone they would be incredulous about how he yelled at Ichako, but surprised by the part of 3,000 yen. Ichako. Somewhat nervous, "What are you referring to, Izuku-kun?" Izuku. "You'll see, bitch." After that somewhat awkward moment, Aizawa would have arrived to start classes. "From here we will skip until after lunch." I don't remember when the training with All Might was. The students would be waiting for their teacher until the door opened suddenly. All Might. "I'm coming in like a normal person." Everyone was surprised except Izuku, Jiro and Todoroki to know that All Might was teaching at UA. Izuku. "If that's normal, I don't want to know what's weird." After saying that you can see All Might in a corner making circles on the floor muttering things about children who don't respect him. After that he explained everything like in the anime. Then you can see all the students in the city that were occupied for the entrance exams. They were all waiting for Izuku and Jiro who still hadn't arrived. Then you would hear some footsteps. When they arrived you could see those who were missing. Ignore Meliodas. Izuku's appearance is like Ban's after leaving Purgatory. That's Jiro's appearance. Everyone would be surprised, but more so by Izuku's appearance, but that would be topics for later. Almight. Okay, now that everyone is here I'll proceed to explain how the training will be, since I'm too lazy to write it all out, I'll just say that the explanation was the same as the anime, and the only changes were that Izuku teamed up with Jiro, Achako teamed up with Izumi and Momo teamed up with Melissa. Inside the building you could see Ida trying to talk to Bakugo because he ignored her. Meanwhile outside the building you could see the team of heroes somewhat nervous and very blushing for being alone with each other. After 10 minutes they would have started the test. Izuku and Jiro had planned that Izuku would take care of Bakugo and Jiro to go for the bomb. After about 3 minutes they would hear a scream that would put them on alert. Bakugo. Shine. Izuku. While dodging him with a swear in his arms to prevent him from getting hurt. Izuku. Whispering, while I distract him go for the bomb. Izuku would have gotten up occupying zero sight to attack Bakugo by surprise, which would have worked by moving Bakugo away from Jiro, and she would take advantage of this to leave the place, while the smoke from the explosion remained, while Jiro went for the bomb. Izuku fought with Bakugo until. Izuku. Is this the best you have Kachin? Bakugo. Shut up nerd. If they did this the way I asked, he said this while grabbing the safety pin on one of the pins on his right glove. Almight. Young Bakugo don't do it, it's going to kill you. Bakugo. Not if you dodge it, he said this while removing the safety pin from the glove, causing a gigantic explosion. After that All Might was going to stop the fight until it was heard. Izuku. Full counter. After saying that, everyone was astonished to see that the explosion had returned to Bakugo, who had moved out of the way, pale with fear because of the results of that explosion, but more so because he knew that his own explosion had returned to him. When the explosion dissipated, Izuku could be seen with his 3 chacos in his hands, surprising everyone since no one saw when he took them out. Meanwhile Jiro after hearing the explosion was worried for a second until he heard someone shout full counter. He relaxed and concentrated a lot on his objective, which was to recover the bomb. After a few seconds Jiro using Elaine's skills, was able to push away and hurt Lita getting the bomb, giving Izuku's team the victory. Then it would all be the same as in the anime. Here Izuku didn't tell Bakugo anything about the OFA or anything like that, they just went to their respective houses, being Izuku the one in his house with Ban, waiting for the visit of the 2 ash-haired ones. After 1 hour the ash-haired men would have arrived at the green-haired man's house. Upon entering, they saw a man wearing red leather clothes. I don't know what material the Bana clothes were made of, but let's say it was red leather, preparing food for everyone after realizing the arrival of their children. The Cetas would have greeted them indicating that dinner would be ready soon and asked Izuku to set the table for dinner. Izuku obeyed, and in a very short time Izuku had already set the table and Ban would have served dinner. During dinner Mitsuki thanked Ban for taking care of Izuku. He said it was nothing, so that later Mitsuki could ask him about his story. Ban agreed to tell him his story, but after dinner since it was quite long. Dinner passed normally, and when they finished Izuku washed the dishes, while Bakugo told his visitors his story taking around 130 hours. After the story the little pink-haired ones were shocked by everything Ban lived and also moved, this on Mitsuki's part, by the story of Ban and Elaine. Bakugo would have understood why his friend had apparently fallen in love so easily, knowing that Jiro was the descendant of Elaine. After a while talking it was late. Retiring the little-haired ones to give an end to the day of Izuku and Ban, which agreed that it was an exhausting day. Representative and press. We can see a green-haired man walking towards the UA, and when he was about 50 meters away from arriving, he was bombarded by questions from many reporters who were there, because a rumor had spread that All Might was teaching classes. When the reporters surrounded him, they all felt very weak, since Izuku used his Hunter Fest and was able to go to his classes without problems, impressing the journalists since they saw how his muscles had grown bigger when they felt weak. Assuming that he was the one responsible for making them feel weak. After that we see the whole class 1A waiting for their teacher, while Mina, Momo, Izumi and incredibly Ida, the latter because her brother made her understand that what she did was not right, and on top of that her brother was disappointed like the rest of her family, tried to talk and apologize to Izuku, who did not pay attention to them. Momo. Please Izuku, just listen to us. Izuku. I already said it, I will listen to you just like you listened to me when I asked you to stop or when I begged for mercy. After those words they would only feel helpless for not being able to say anything against it. Suddenly Aizawa would have arrived. Aizawa. Well today, this would leave the students intrigued who thought the worst, they will choose their class representative. Everyone except Izuku, Bakugo and Shoto. Yes, it's a normal activity. Aizawa. Shut up, he would say this with his quirk activated, scaring everyone except Shoto and Izuku. After a while Lita would have proposed that by vote leaving Izuku as the president and Jiro as the vice president, after all, that the time for lunch would come where Izuku and Jiro would sit together and Bakugo with Kirishima, this to leave his friend alone with his beloved. After a few minutes an alarm would have been heard indicating a possible attack by villains. Everyone panicking except Izuku and Jiro, Izuku because he has been in purgatory, which is 1,000 times worse than an attack by villains, and Jiro, because he was with Izuku, and with him she felt safe. Izuku after a few minutes would realize that it was only the press, and to calm the others, would have used the Hunter Fest to calm them down, and then increase his killer instinct to get their attention and intimidate them, and then scream. Izuku. Come on, you damn idiots, first of all, behave, you're leaving the UA in a ridicule, and second it was just the press. If this is how future heroes react to a false alarm, I don't even want to imagine when it's a real attack. This would have left everyone angry and humiliated since Izuku was right. After that classes continued normally until dismissal time, where Izuku would accompany Jiro home, more out of chivalry than anything else. Upon arriving at Jiro's house, Jiro's mother would have opened it and was surprised to see her daughter with a boy, and also in her words very handsome. In a few seconds Jiro's father appeared at the door and would have started chasing Izuku while asking, "What intentions do you have with my daughter?" The green-haired boy only limited himself to running until after 15 minutes, Jiro's father would have gotten tired and stopped following Izuku, who would have been invited by Jiro's mother to eat with him. He ended up accepting just to spend more time with Jiro. While they were in the middle of eating, Jiro's parents interrogated Izuku, who only limited himself to answering what they asked. After a while they asked about his life. Izuku would have told them that after eating, since the story was somewhat long, the parents would have agreed. After the meal they would have gone to the living room where Izuku began to tell them his story, from the abuse from his family and friends, to how he met Ban and his training. Shocking them by knowing that he really had more than 1860 years alive. At that moment Izuku explained that he was immortal, and that was the reason why he was able to enter the purgatory for so long, and being able to adapt to the environment of purgatory, after 1 hour of having been telling her life story. Jiro's mother was crying knowing everything that Izuku had to suffer because of his family, as well as Jiro, and Jiro's father saw him with respect since, despite having all the reasons in the world to take revenge, he did not do it since, according to him, that was no longer his family, because his last name changed it, and that is why legally he no longer had a relationship with the Midoriya, not even by blood, for so many times he died in purgatory. After continuing to talk for a while longer, being more confident, Izuku decided to leave since it was already somewhat late. When Jiro's parents left they bothered her a lot with Izuku, leaving her rather than Hinata. Meanwhile Izuku would arrive home being bothered in the same way, Izuku leaving him rather than boss clothes and then going to sleep, and Ban stayed a while longer drinking until midnight to go to sleep. Attack at the USJ. Let me clarify first that I will leave Mineta and Kaminari in the UA for a while longer, only that they will suffer a lot, and as time goes by I will end up removing them from the story. I hope this small change does not bother you. It will not be a radical change, since there really will not be a big difference. Without further ado, let's start with today's chapter. We focus on a classroom where we can see the students of class 1A waiting for their sensei since he was taking a little while, and they would start to complain about why the teacher was late. Lita. I can't believe that being in the most prestigious hero academy our sensei is taking so long. This should be something. She couldn't finish because she received a blow from Izuku using zero sight. Izuku. Shut up, Aizawa must have his reasons for taking so long, or because something unexpected came up. She said this in a serious voice and looking at the blue-haired man with a look colder than her heart, leaving Lita and the others terrified, taking a mental note not to bother him to avoid him doing something to them. After a few minutes Aizawa would have arrived explaining that they were going to the USJ and telling them that they could go with a UA uniform or with their hero costumes. After about 30 minutes they would be waiting for the bus where Izuku and Jiro would strategically accommodate them so that they would sit together. During the trip the kawaii frog would have started a conversation with Izuku. Seiya. Izuku-chan. Izuku. Please just call me Izuku, I would say this in a neutral way. Seiya. Izuku, I'm a person who says what I think, and I've wanted to ask you a question for a while now. Izuku. What is your question, Seiya? Suit you. What is your quirk called and what can you do with it? Izuku. My ability is called Snatch. I can steal energy, both physical and objects, and I also have immortality. Before you say that is impossible. At that moment, Izuku would have grabbed a knife that God knows where he got it from and cut his head with it. Seeing this everyone would have been terrified since they would have thought he had committed suicide until a few words took them out of their thoughts, leaving them in a state of shock and impressed. What? The cat ate their tongue, ha 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 ha. Both Izuku and Kayaka were dying of laughter at the reactions of their classmates since they expected a similar reaction, but they didn't imagine it would be so funny until. Lita. Don't do that, that is in very bad taste and you don't play with those things. Izuku. 1. Don't even think about raising your voice at me again. 2. For me it's not in bad taste. And 3. I can play with these things since I'm immortal. And 4. I forgot to mention 3 more abilities that I know which have nothing to do with my quirk but are very difficult to learn, which are: Full Counter. Allows you to return any attack, both physical and quirk, with double the original damage. Vanishing Counter, I think it was written like this. Allows me to disperse any attack that is from a quirk. Revenge Counter. This allows me to save all the damage received in a period of time and then return all the damage received, being 3 times stronger. Izuku. And I won't tell you about my quirk's abilities since it's better if it's a surprise, or you could try to convince Kayaka to tell you that since she knows perfectly well what my abilities are with my quirk. Everyone would have turned to see Kayaka, who was nervous about all the attention she was receiving, but she would be refusing to tell them about Izuku's abilities with his quirk. Time later they would arrive at the USJ, where they would meet the Heroine 13, which would have explained the same thing as the anime until the arrival of the League of Villains. Note. They want me to put the 10 commandments in this story, or who else could I put in this story? I clarify that I am not going to put in the other sins, since I feel that it would not go well with the story. Here Aizawa would have tried to go fight, but Izuku would stop him so that he would stay with his companions and he was going to fight against the villains. Aizawa would have reluctantly accepted, rather he was forced to stay there because of Izuku's Hunter Fest, which would have launched itself against the villains, attacking them brutally with its chakos of 3, that is. Without killing them, here the students would not have been separated and they would have managed to defend themselves from Kurogiri with the help of Aizawa. Leader ran towards the UA. Shigaraki was very angry since his plan was failing. Shigaraki. That boy is annoying, Nomu, kill him. He said this to the bird on steroids and with an exposed brain, which would have attacked Izuku, who, not being prepared for such a strong blow, Izuku's upper half would have exploded, making Shigaraki believe that he killed him. Dodo's Kayaka. Mado Izuku. Shigaraki. I think we won't have any more problems. Izuku. What are you laughing at? I don't know what's so funny. At this Shigaraki would have frozen since he didn't expect Izuku to recover from that. At this Izuku took out his sacred treasure and would do the Hunter Fest, increasing his power a lot, launching himself towards the Nomu, which gave him a blow similar to 100% of Almight, but they didn't expect Izuku to do a full counter, leaving the Nomu somewhat hurt and then give the Nomu a holy beating, making Eskinar's Grape of Esterosa look like child's play. Izuku would also have received strong blows, but he did it on purpose to end with a revenge counter which Nomu could not dodge, killing Nomu on the spot. Nobody believed that Izuku had so much power except Kayaka, who with a few simple words would have left them speechless. Kayaka. Yes, she is strong, but at this but everyone turned to look at her since they were surprised by that, but I wanted to see her maximum power. Everyone was incredulous since he had not fought at his full power. Izuku. Kayaka, suddenly appearing behind Kayaka, hugging her by the waist, making the girl blush. That was a surprise, although I have to say that it forced me to use 30% of all my power. This would have left everyone on the verge of collapse, since Izuku hadn't even used half of his power. After that they would have retired to their homes to process what happened today. Break Part 1. We can see Class 1A waiting for Mama Caterpillar, since it was already a bit late. Lita. Why is Sensei taking so long? He should be ashamed of himself coming from the… Izuku. Shut up for once. Lita would have remained silent more than anything. It was for safety, since Izuku unleashed a killing instinct similar to Stain's. After that, Aizawa would arrive telling them that as compensation for the attack on the USJ, they decided to take them to the beach for a week and that Class B would also go to promote coexistence between both classes. After that, he gave them the day off and informed them that they would leave tomorrow at 11 in the morning and that the meeting point would be at the entrance of the UA. Mineta. Great. I'll be able to see the girl's body, it will be paradise. He said this while on the verge of a nosebleed from imagining them all, whispering, and I'll be able to seduce Jiro. No one could hear the last thing except Izuku and Jiro, who would have taken out their death auras approaching Mineta, terrifying him. Jiro. What did you say about me? He asked with a sweetly devilish smile which promised pain. Mineta. Shouted with fear, and nothing, Jiro-san. Izuku. Don't pretend that we heard you, patting Mineta in the face, so suffer, sending him flying and crashing him against a wall. Something like that, except that Mineta is a fraud, Izuku is Meliodas and the dialogues these two have are above. Seeing that, everyone made a mental note to never make Izuku angry or mess with Jiro. After that moment, everyone decided to go to the mall to buy what they needed. Izuku agreed to go since he didn't have a swimsuit, and neither did Kayaka. Upon arriving, everyone split up, but not before agreeing on a meeting point. I'm going to summarize this part by saying that Izuku and Kayaka bought some swimsuits that each other would love, since they hid the swimsuits to surprise each other. Note. This happens after their date, they already went out and are already in a relationship. After a short while, everyone would meet again at the meeting point and then each one would go to their house, with Jiro being accompanied by Izuku to his house. Upon arriving, Izuku said goodbye to his girlfriend and went back to his house with Ban. The next day all the students of class A and B were ready to go to the beach waiting for the bus. While they waited, Mineta tried to see under the skirt of all the girls including Jiro and trying to touch the girls' butts. The problem was that Izuku saw it, and to summarize what happened, Mineta would have been graped in such a way that the grape that Izuku gave to the Nomu would not reach his heels. But since Izuku had been in purgatory he would have met Gother. Gother will not appear more than in this part. He taught him how to manipulate the minds of others. Izuku, when he finished raping him of his life, would have thrown a ray of light similar to Gother's at Mineta, to whom apparently nothing had happened. After Mineta recovered a little and after a threat from Izuku towards Mineta and Kaminari, who were the most perverted of all those present, the bus would have arrived, with all the students getting on to head towards the beach. Upon arrival, everyone would have gone to check into a hotel and then retire to their rooms to change and go to the beach. It's 1:30 in the afternoon. After changing, everyone would go to the beach to spend the afternoon relaxing. It is worth mentioning that Izuku blushed a lot when he saw Kayaka in her swimsuit, since in his words she looked very beautiful, and when she saw him, she turned red, like Hinata, since according to her, she was seeing an angel in front of her. After a while Izuku would have lit the grill to start cooking something for his companions, since Jiro had asked him to cook for everyone, since Jiro knew that if Izuku was with Ban, then his food must be delicious, and he was not wrong. It should be noted that while they were eating Lita, Kaminari, Mina, Momo, Izumi, Achako and incredibly Mineta, these last ones because their families made them understand what they made Izuku suffer, tried to apologize to Izuku, who sent them to hell. After eating, Itsuka. Sorry to butt into personal matters Izuku-san, but I would like to know what they did to you for you to treat them like that. He said with curiosity. Note. I don't remember if Izuku already told his story to those of class A. Izuku. Okay, take a seat, the story is interesting. After everyone took their seats, Izuku proceeded to speak. Izuku. I will tell you the story of a boy who had to be born quirkless and guess how his mother and sister reacted when they found out this. Mina. They accepted him and supported him because of his situation. Izuku. How nice, but no, they decided to torture him, make his life hell, and guess what they did at the school the boy went to? Seiya. The children gave him their friendship and together with the teachers they supported him. Kiro. Izuku. You really are very innocent, but they decided to exclude him and treat him badly, and even the teachers insulted him so much that he practically had no self-esteem, but a boy gave him his friendship and a girl told him some time later that she liked him. Do you want to guess what happened to that girl? Pony. Their relationship lasted a long time and they were very happy. Izuku. How tender you are, but no, she decided to tear his feelings apart. Her heart left him shattered, letting him know that he was always unfaithful to her with everyone and destroying his dreams, making it clear to him saying, a useless one like you will never be a hero, and after that they all beat him up. When they arrived at the poor boy's house, with the help of his only friend, guess how his mother and sister reacted? Ibarra. Taking into account the story, I would say that they scolded him without caring about his condition. Izuku. Close, but no, when he entered his mother yelled at him and made a big wound on his neck, and with the help of his sister, they took the poor boy under a bridge and almost killed him, but thanks to a man who passed by there he managed to save himself, and he gave him back his dream of being able to be a hero. And from there he told everything that happened in the chapter training, and one more reason to fight. Break Part 2 and Festival Announcement. After the boys from Class 1A and 1B heard Izuku's story, they would see those responsible for the suffering in Izuku's life with annoyance and disappointment. Monoma, upon learning that they were from Class 1A at the beginning, would grow his hatred towards that class, but upon seeing that Class A was also disappointed in Mina, Mineta, Momo, Izumi, Uraraka, Lita and Kaminari, but they would have impressed even Jiro with what he said next. Izuku. I don't want them to cut off their friendships or treat them badly after hearing my story. Monoma. But what are you doing? Are you going to forgive them out of nowhere? He asked with some anger. Izuku. I don't forgive them and I will never forgive them, they are already suffering, less the 3,000 yen, but the truth is it's their business whether they treat them differently or not, that doesn't matter to me anymore. After saying that, Izuku would have retired to his room to rest and Jiro would go see him since, even though Izuku wouldn't accept it, telling that hurt him. Jiro. Knocking on Izuku's room door, Izuku, can I come in? Izuku. Whenever you want, beautiful. Although Izuku didn't see it, he knew that Jiro blushed a lot, almost looking like a tomato. Jiro. Are you okay, Izuku? Izuku. Why wouldn't my little fairy be? Jiro. Izuku. Don't read my mind or my feelings. Jiro. If you don't tell me what you have, I must take care of it since I don't like you to be sad. Izuku. Don't worry, grabbing Jiro by the waist, laying her down next to him on the bed, don't think badly, filthy people, making Jiro redder than a tomato, the past is the past, and I'd rather enjoy the present being by your side. After saying those words, Jiro was redder than Hinata, steaming from her ears, looking like a volcano. After that little chat they decided to sleep since it was late, and at Jiro's request, they would have slept in the same bed. After that interesting day the rest of the week would have flown by, arriving on Monday, when they would have to return to classes. After that break on the beach they would have returned to classes where they would be given a warning. Aizawa. Very well, my offspring, I have a warning. Everyone would be nervous except Izuku and Kayaka. Izuku because he is Izuku, and Kayaka because she read Aizawa's mind. In a week will be the UA Sports Festival. Ball? Yes. Aizawa. Which is why this week you will not have classes. I recommend you train a lot to show the world what you are made of. Without further ado, you may leave. So the whole class would have retired to their respective houses, with Kayaka being accompanied by Izuku to her house to rest and begin Izuku's training in purgatory for that week. Of course, Izuku told Kayaka that he was going to train in purgatory, asking her not to look for him. Note: I forgot to mention that Ban is no longer immortal, so to train Izuku in purgatory, he decided to enter and leave every so often to avoid dying and be able to train Izuku, since he didn't want his beloved to worry. Sports Festival. After the week given for training we could see the entire class 1A waiting to be called in a waiting room. You could see that some were excited, others nervous, and a purple-haired and a blonde-haired man nailed to the wall. How did this happen? Simple, they argued about who had the best body among the women in their class. The problem is that they said positive things about everyone except Kayaka. In fact, they even tried to grope Kayaka to try to see if she had something to rescue according to them, but when they tried to do this, they were sent flying towards Izuku by a strong current of wind, courtesy of Kayaka, and when both perverts reached Izuku, they were hit in their faces with such force that they nailed them to the wall. Then Shoto challenged Izuku, and he acted. After a while they would have called them to come out to introduce themselves to everyone, and when they came out they would have seen that there were many people in the stands, also seeing the rest of the first classes leave shortly after them. After introducing each class, Izuku was asked to give a few words to start the festival. Izuku. Do your best, show everyone what you're made of and what you can do. I know there are great talents here. I expect great things from everyone. After saying that, spectators, students, and professional heroes would have shouted with joy and excitement. The first test would have been an obstacle course. At the start of the race Izuku would have been running towards the first obstacle, being huge robots. Izuku would have destroyed them with ease using his 3 chakos, and Kayaka was on Izuku's back. Todoroki would have been upset to see that they surpassed him, so in a fit of rage, he froze the robots and then ran away, being behind Izuku and Kayaka. When he reached the second obstacle, being the great cliff, he was going to jump from platform to platform. But Kayaka stopped him, telling him that she would take care of it, so she would take out her wings and carry him to the other end of the cliff. Just imagine them in the UA sports uniform. After that happened, Izuku ran until he reached the mind area. Here Kayaka carried Izuku again, so that Izuku could give Kayaka first place before reaching the finish line. After that there would be a 5-minute rest period. Later in the cavalry battle Izuku would have teamed up with Kayaka, Hatsum and Ibara, with Kayaka on top, Izuku in front as attack, Ibara as defense on the left, and Hatsum as reinforcement on the right. To summarize, Izuku's team won, being in first place, Todoroki's team in second place, same as the anime, Bakugo's team in third place, this one is the same as the anime, and Izumi's team in fourth place, Melissa, Izumi, Achako and Tokoyami. After that, those who moved on to the 1v1 combat phase would be given a 15-minute break. Students were asked to stand in special stands, divided by class, and each waited for their turn. 1 vs 1 fights, Part 1. The fights will be as follows. 1 Izuku vs Kirishima. 2 Hatsum vs Lita. 3 Mina vs Izumi. 4 Momo vs Melissa. 5 Todoroki vs Tokoyami. 6 Bakugo vs Achako. 7 Ibara vs Kaminari. 8 Kayaka vs Zero. Now let's continue where I left off. While they wait for the combat platform they began to talk among themselves and some to devise a strategy for their opponents, being this the case of Kirishima, Tokoyami, Achako, Mina and Momo. Izuku decided to help Kayaka plan her strategy, and after doing that they decided to listen to music while it began. Those are the songs they listened to. After a while, Izuku and Kirishima were called to begin their duel. From the stands, Ban could be seen somewhat impatient to see the results of Izuku's training. When they both entered the platform, Kirishima would have hardened himself and put himself in a combat pose. However, Izuku looked relaxed. Izuku would have taken out his 3 chakos and placed them behind his neck with a face that conveyed tranquility. Midnight. The rules are simple: if you leave the marked area, are knocked unconscious or give up, you are disqualified. Unless you have a permit, you cannot occupy artifacts or objects that you have not created yourself, and if the fight gets out of control, Cementus and I will intervene and end the fight without further saying get started. This was said while hitting the air with his whip. At the start of the fight both rushed at each other. Izuku only dodged with great agility and repelling attacks with his chakos. The problem for Kirishima was that his movements were somewhat slow and very rigid, while Izuku was very fast, very agile and very flexible, which left Kirishima at a clear disadvantage, which when receiving a blow with a bare fist from Izuku was thrown against the wall, leaving the platform unconscious, impressing everyone except Kayaka and Ban, who already expected it. The fight between Hatsum and Lita was the same as the anime, with Lita winning because Hatsum left the C-zone on her own. The fight between Mina and Izumi was quite close because both were among the best in their class attacking from a distance. The fight lasted about 7 minutes, and at this point, Mina had very irritated skin on her hands from producing so much acid, and Izumi had some burns on his hands from having overdone his creation of fire, but in the end, Mina would have surrendered because she could no longer stand the pain in her hands, giving the victory to Izumi. The next fight was between Momo and Melissa. In short, thanks to One for All they managed to take away all the weapons and shields created by Momo, which gave the victory to Melissa. Both ended up very tired and went in the direction of the food stalls because their quirks after a while made them very hungry. The next fight was between Todoroki and Tokoyami, which ended with Todoroki's victory because Dark Shadow couldn't stand the cold, leaving Tokoyami out of the fight. The next fight was between Bakugo and Ichako. Here the fight was the same as the anime, only Ichako received more damage and Bakugo just left without saying anything. The next fight was between Ibara and Kaminari. It was the same as the anime, leaving Kaminari looking like an idiot and Ibara feeling a bit strange since she only blocked her opponent's attack and he was practically defeated. The last match of the first round was between Kayaka and Shiro. This match was fast, as Shiro threw his ribbons at Kayaka in order to catch her and then remove her from the platform. Kayaka just raised her hand, causing a large wave of wind which sent Shiro flying, causing him to get tangled in his own ribbons. Dan seeing this was surprised because he finally found the successor of his beloved and somewhat melancholic, since thanks to that technique, it was in part how he fell in love with Elaine, the only woman he loved with all his soul. Instead Endeavor wanted Kayaka to marry his son and have very powerful children, since Kayaka's power was really great and he wanted that power for his greed. Izuku, Ban and Kayaka would have realized Endeavor's intentions, but decided to do nothing until he makes the first move, meaning if Endeavor does nothing they will do nothing. They would have given 5 minutes to rest to those who passed to the quarterfinals. 1 vs 1 fights, part 2. We continue where we left off. In the previous chapter we said that those who went to the quarterfinals were the fights as follows. 1 Izuku vs Lita. 2 Izumi vs Melissa. 3 Todoroki vs Bakugo. 4 Bara vs Kayaka. After a song, heard by Izuku and Kayaka, they would have called Izuku and Lita to the platform to begin their fight. When Lita arrived, she would have put herself in a combat pose, and Izuku did the same as with Kirishima. After this the fight began in which Lita was very fast, but not faster than Izuku who used the physical hunt. In case you wonder, it is the ability that absorbs physical energy for each hit you receive. Tell me if it was written like that, because I do not remember. At first everyone believed that Izuku was defenseless and could not do anything. But after a while they realized that each blow from Lita was slower and weaker than the previous one. On the other hand with Izuku, it was seen that with each blow his muscles were growing, causing a fairly large increase in power, causing Vita to be very tired after a while, and with just one blow, Izuku would have sent him flying with a flurry of blows that no one asked to see, except Ban who could see it, giving Izuku the victory. The next fight was between Izumi and Melissa. The two got into a fighting stance, and after starting, Melissa went out against Izumi, who reacted by throwing a flame at her. But Melissa was able to dodge it and then tried to hit Izumi, who only blocked the blow with great difficulty and then threw her to the other side of the platform with a fireball that only burned Melissa's uniform a little, more specifically her sleeves. Melissa felt that her body hurt because she could not rest enough and her body was still very tired from the fight against Momo, which in the end gave the victory to Izumi since Melissa gave up because she could no longer continue because her body needed to rest. The next fight was between Bakugo and Todoroki. This was similar to the one in the anime. The only difference is that Bakugo defeated him more easily because Todoroki did not want to use his fire side. In the end after Bakugo won, he made Todoroki reflect on his fire side, causing him to accept his fire side. And the last fight of the quarterfinals was between Obara and Kayaka. This fight surprised many. Kayaka, being Elaine's successor, had the ability to manipulate plants, as shown in the chapter where you see how they met Banyu Elaine. Obara, not knowing this, would attack with the help of her vine hair. When trying this, Kayaka only ordered them to stop and that it was better to remove Obara from the platform. Obara could not believe that her hair was responsible for her losing, and she was confused until Kayaka spoke. Kayaka. Don't feel bad, I didn't tell you, but I have a very strong connection with nature to the point that I can control any plant no matter what it is. This would have left everyone speechless except Izuku and Ban, who already knew that, and it also caused Endeavor's greedy intentions to increase. After this last fight, 15 minutes would have been given for everyone to rest well, so that they could give their best effort, while Izuku told Kayaka that she really had a hard time fighting against Bakugo, recommending her to take advantage of when he launched an explosion to launch a gust of wind, to give him a chance to win, so to waste time they were listening to rock music. And now, because I don't want to bore you with so many songs, although I do recommend listening to them since the songs are very good. They would have ended up like this. 1. Izuku vs Izumi. 2. Bakugo vs Kayaka. After the given time, Izuku and Izumi were asked to go to the combat platform to begin. When the fight started, Izumi threw a flame which surprisingly returned to him. Izuku? Did you forget that I can return any attack you throw at me? Izumi would be nervous because she forgot that powerful technique of his. She chose to launch into hand-to-hand combat, in which she noticed an enormous disadvantage on Izumi's part, which she was losing since Izuku was more agile and faster than her. Izumi, in an attack of desperation, would have thrown a flame so strong that it completely burned Izuku's upper half. Seeing this, everyone was shocked, since they believed that Izumi killed someone. Midnight was about to disqualify Izumi until Izuku. It's not enough for you to burn me alive once, while getting up, you've already burned me alive twice, and I bet you anything you'd like to burn me alive one more time. Everyone was surprised because Izuku came back to life and without a single scratch. After saying those words, Izuku used his chakos to seriously wound Izumi, who was on the verge of unconsciousness, and Midnight tore part of his suit to put Izuku to sleep. The problem is that it did not work on him. This is due to his stay in purgatory, making him immune to Midnight's quirk. Then Izuku only gave 3 more hits, breaking both of his arms and leaving her completely unconscious, after giving her a strong blow to the stomach, giving Izuku the victory, who was greeted by a hug from his girlfriend, who worried for a few moments and scolding him not to worry her again, and also asking him if he had not gone too far, to which he only replied, compare his pain with what I received and tell me who is the one who went too far. With those words he left Kayaka somewhat thoughtful. The following fight of the semi-finals of Bakugo and Kayaka was not very long. At the beginning of the fight, Kayaka began to throw multiple gusts of wind, which little by little pushed Bakugo, who avoided leaving the platform with the help of his explosions. In the end, Bakugo freed himself from the wind waves, and to avoid damaging her, more than anything he did it because he did not want to feel the wrath of his friend. He took her by the arms and took her off the platform so that the victory would be Bakugo's. After that last match of the semi-finals, there was a 5-minute break for the final between Izuku and Bakugo. Kayaka was a little sad for having lost against Bakugo. Izuku told her not to be sad, since what really matters is her effort, and not whether she wins or loses. After these words, Kayaka would have been happier, and decided to be in the opposite seats to be able to see her boyfriend fight. After a short while, Katsuki, Bakugo and Izuku of Greed were asked to get down to the platform to start their fight. At the moment the fight started, Bakugo launched himself with his explosions towards Izuku, who only limited himself to dodging and counter-attacking from time to time, until Bakugo, out of pure luck, managed to give Izuku an explosion which ended up with his clothes somewhat torn and with some scratches which healed almost instantly. Izuku, when recovering, decided to go seriously using his zero sight, which became invisible to everyone. Nobody could see him, not even the cameras could see him, until they saw that Izuku gave a strong blow to the stomach to Bakugo, which ended up crashed into a wall. Everyone was impressed, since the only thing they saw was first Izuku disappear, and after 3 seconds, Izuku is seen giving a powerful blow to Bakugo, which left him unconscious, leaving Izuku as the winner of the sports festival. After the award ceremony, Almight handed out the medals, giving words of support to those who remained on the podium. Izuki in first, Bakugo in second, here they didn't gag him, and Kayaka in third place since Izumi was still recovering, and so the sports festival ended. Internships. After the events of the last chapter, we can see the entire class A waiting for their sensei, since Mama Caterpillar said that she would give them a very important notice. After a few minutes, Mama Caterpillar would have arrived to give her warning. Izawa. Very well, kids, I have something important to tell you. Everyone was wondering what was so important except Kayaka, who already knew what it was. Izawa. This week you'll be interning with some heroes, and before you start shouting, I have to say that several of you received requests from various professional heroes. Here's a table so you can see how many requests you had. After saying that, he wrote on the board the number of requests that some had. Izuku 12,000. Kayaka 7,000. Bakugo 4328. Todoroki 3541. Izumi 2838. Melissa 1900. Lita 391. Momo 107. Kirishima 52. And the rest did not have. Everyone would be surprised by the amount of requests Izuku and Kayaka had, but they would be practically petrified after what Izuku said. Izuku? I don't care after all, I'm not going with any of those 12,000 heroes. Mineta. Damn it. I'm surely that in those offers there are women with large breasts and you're wasting that opportunity. I didn't finish speaking since when trying to imagine MT Lady or Midnight, both Mineta and Kaminari would have been left unconscious due to Izuku's attack on them in the Break Cap Part 1. In the minds of both, a play similar to Tsukiyomi could be seen in which both perverts were tied to a trunk by the hands, while two men with their 50 cm virile member brutally raped them. Both perverts would have lived this for 5 days, but in the real world only 5 minutes passed. Upon waking up, both perverts would have run towards Izuku, demanding that he tell them what he did. Izuku. Nightmare teller, what this technique can do is that I can make them see whatever I want in a way that I can even break them mentally, and it is activated with perverted thoughts. Any perverted action or thought will activate the ability, and I highly doubt they want to go back there. A shiver would have run down everyone's spine, as they didn't know what the punishment for the two perverts was until. Mineta Kaminari. No. I don't want to be raped by a man with a 50 cm member again. All the men would have grabbed their asses while they looked pale, except Izuku, who was holding back his laughter. On the other hand, all the women were blushing because they imagined that, but they were the ones punished except Jiro, who knew that if the women were punished, it would be in ways that were more asinine than that. After that moment, Almight would have called Melissa and Izumi to talk to them. Here Izumi knows about One for All and Melissa's quirkless condition because she accidentally heard the conversation while passing by the beach that Melissa cleaned. Almight told them both that they were going to fulfill their internships with their teacher Gran Torino. He would say this trembling with fear, making Melissa and Izumi sweat a few drops. In case you were wondering, Izuku and Kayaka will be training with Ban, Izuku in Purgatory and Kayaka in the real world. The next day, Melissa and Izumi can be seen outside a somewhat old building, wondering if Almight gave them the right direction. Upon entering, they saw an old man lying on the floor with ketchup under him. Note. I forgot to say it, but the thing about choosing their hero names has already happened. Everyone would have been like in the anime, except that Izuku decided to wear the Fox of Greed, Kayaka wore Elaine, Izumi wore Fire Fist, and Melissa wore Shield. Yes, I'm referring to Marvel's Shield. When they saw the old man they thought he was dead, so they screamed and hugged each other with some fear. Until they entered, the old man raised his head, scaring them even more. Gran Torino. Hello, who are you? Izumi. Hello, I'm Izumi. Melissa. And I'm Melissa, still hugging each other. Gran Torino. Who are you? Both. We already told you who we are. Gran Torino. I asked you who you were, but leaving that aside, let me introduce myself. I'm Gran Torino, and you will be in my charge from today for this week. Both. Hi. Gran Torino. First of all, who of the two has One for All? Melissa. Me. Gran Torino. How much can you control of One for All? Melissa. 5% of One for All. Gran Torino. This week we will increase the control to 10% minimum. Melissa. Hi. Gran Torino. And what is your quirk? Pointing at Izumi. Izumi. Pyrokinesis. Gran Torino. Let's work on your stamina and the size and heat of your flames. Izumi. Hi. And so their training would begin, not knowing that on the last day of their internship, they would have to face someone quite dangerous. Hero Killer. After 6 days of hard training, Gran Torino would tell Melissa and Izumi that they would go to Hosu to put into practice everything they have learned. Gran Torino. Very well, brats, prepare your things because at 7 o'clock at night we leave. Izumi. Why are we leaving at that time? Gran Torino. Because at night there is a greater probability that we will find villains, since for them the night benefits a lot. Time skip 7 p.m. It was already 7 o'clock. Izumi, Melissa, and Gran Torino were on a train about to arrive at Hosu. Suddenly, they saw a hero being thrown into the train they were on. Shortly after, a Nomu noticeably weaker than the one that attacked the USJ could be seen entering. Before the Nomu attacked or made any move, Gran Torino launched himself at him, taking him out of the train and telling his students to stay there. Just as a good girl would do, they decided to go to Hosu to see how they could help. After exploring for a while, Melissa would have heard someone asking for help in an alley. Looking out of the corner of her eye, she would have seen Lita about to be killed by the hero killer. She would have activated the full cowl, starting to jump between the walls of the alley, getting in front of Stain, giving him a strong blow, pushing him away from Lita. Lita, seeing that Melissa saved him, complained to him about why she saved him. Lita. Melissa, what are you doing? Melissa. Isn't it obvious? We came to save you. Lita. Seeing Izumi arrive, what are you two doing? Get out. I have to defeat him to avenge my brother. I was the one who inherited his name. Melissa. A hero doesn't take revenge, a hero looks out for the good of all and puts personal problems aside, doing what he must. Those words, I hope you understood me, made Lita reconsider, making her understand that what she was doing was wrong and that they were there to save him and help him. Stain. You are a true heroine. Said, pointing at Melissa, I'll let you live, but I'm going to kill Ingenium. Melissa. I won't allow it. Getting into a combat pose. Stain. Then die. After saying that, Stain and Melissa would have launched themselves at each other. At first glance you could see that Stain had the advantage. Stain was about to stick his katana in Melissa's stomach until he receives a flare from Izumi, which managed to leave a few burns on Stain, who, seeing that, decided to go seriously, causing them not to be able to even touch him, causing Stain to manage to cut Izumi and Melissa's right arm and then drink their blood. Leaving them immobile watching the hero killer approach them, they saw this with great fear and on the verge of crying at the thought of dying. Stain, being a few meters from them, would have received a strong blow, which would have sent him crashing into a wall, destroying it in the process. Izuku. Don't mess with my friends, I would say it with a neutral face, leaving everyone surprised since they didn't see when I arrived. Stain. And who are you? Izuku. I am the Fox of Greed and also the one who is going to stop you, hero killer. Stain. Move before I change my mind and kill you. Izuku. Okay. And that Izuku, using his chakos, gave a strong blow to Stain, which he would not have been able to dodge, knocking the air out of him. The moment he recovered he ran with his katana in hand, stabbing it into his heart, scaring the hero, Ida, Izumi and Melissa, since for a moment they believed that Izuku died until a very powerful airwave that would have taken Stain flying, who wondered where that gust of air came from, seeing Kayaka behind Izuku, who looked somewhat upset. Stain. What, little girl? Upset because I killed your boyfriend? He said in a mocking tone. Kayaka. Izuku. What did you just say? With an aura of death so powerful that even the Demon King would hesitate to attack. Stain would be scared shitless for 3 reasons. 1. Izuku is alive despite the fact that he pierced his heart. 2. The death aura of both combined. 3. He swore that behind Kayaka was the Shinigami. Stain. Little legs, what do I need them for? Running away from them, but being stopped by some trees that grew in front of him, blocking his path, turning around in fear since he had Izuku and Kayaka behind him. To sum up the massacre, Stain will never be the same again, both physically and psychologically. After that the heroes would have arrived along with Todoroki, who would be shocked to see the state of the hero killer. The heroes were going to say something, but seeing Kayaka upset, they decided not to risk it at Izuku's request. Mortal threat, everything that happened would be said, and if they tried to cover it up in some way he would leave them worse than Stain. Filling and training. After the events of the last chapter we can see that at UA, 2 students were being attacked by questions from almost the entire school. The reason is that everyone saw the news of Stain's defeat at the hands of Izuku and Kayaka. Izuku. Either open up for us to pass or I'll leave you worse than Stain. After shouting that, as if by magic, everyone made a path for Izuku, who had a drop of an anime-style sweat, just like Kayaka. After that, when they got to their classroom, they would be bombarded with questions until Izawa arrived, telling them with his marijuana face to sit down. During the break, Sato, Kirishima, Bakugo, Aoyama, Shoji, Jiro, Koda, Sayu, Toru, Shiro and Kayaka asked Izuku to train them, since he was the best of all in his class, he was the best option. Lita, Uraraka, Momo and Mina also asked him, but he rejected them. After classes ended, they met at the UA gym to start their training. Helmu hahahaja. Izuku. Very well, first tell me one by one your quirks, how they work and what you specialize in. Sato. My quirk allows me to increase my physical abilities depending on the amount of sugar I consume. The bad thing is that I also lose intelligence, and when the sugar's effect ends I become unconscious. I specialize in hand-to-hand combat. Izuku. Then we'll work on getting you to attack both in close combat and from a distance. We'll start by having you do 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and 5 laps around the gym 3 reps in a row. Sato was pale from the training, but he started doing it with dedication. Kirishima. My quirk allows me to harden my body a lot, making me very resistant. The bad thing is that after a while I get very exhausted and I can't move. It also increases my physical strength somewhat, and I am also a hand-to-hand fighter. Izuku. Same as Sato and you, Bakugo, do the same, but instead of 100, it will be 80 in 4 laps. It's mostly to improve your physical condition. Kirishima. Bakugo. Hi. Aoyama. My quirk allows me to take a laser out of my navel. The bad thing is that after a while, it gives me stomach pain and I'm long distance. Izuku. Same, but instead of 100 we'll start with 20 for you and 2 laps. Also try to keep your beam active for longer and longer to improve in that aspect. By the way, I forgot to mention that every week we'll increase the exercises by 20 reps and 1 more lap. Everyone would be pale about that, except Kayaka, who knew she was going to train with Ban and him. Shoji. My quirk allows me to multiply parts of my body like hands, mouth, eyes, ears and arms at the tips of my arms. I am a close combat. Izuku. Same thing, but it will be 40 and 2 laps. We will also work on being able to multiply other things and more things at the same time. Jiro. My quirk gives me a tail that I can move and use like another leg or another arm. My tail is very strong and I specialize in martial arts. Izuku. Same as Bakugo. Koda. My quirk allows me to control any insect or animal depending on what I tell it. Izuku. The same as Aoyama, and also in your free time try to control a greater amount of animals or insects in an open place or where it doesn't affect anyone. Seiya. My quirk allows me to have all the abilities of a Kiro frog. Izuku. From what I understand, you're more of a close quarters type, the same as Aoyama, only we'll sit down so you can do long distance attacks. Toru. My quirk allows me to be invisible, but it can't be deactivated. Izuku. Same as Aoyama, and I know that your quirk can be deactivated, but you haven't found the way. Investigate a science fiction heroine called Invisible Woman. She had a power similar to yours, maybe that can help you. Zero. My quirk allows me to throw ribbons from my elbows which are very resistant and sticky. I specialize more in support. Izuku. The same as Aoyama, I will teach you a fighting style so that you improve like Seiya, Aoyama, Toru and Koda so that you do not depend so much on your quirks and can defend yourselves without depending on anyone. And Kayaka, you will continue with Ban's training. After giving them their exercises and recommendations to improve their quirks, everyone was doing the exercises from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock. When they finished, everyone without exception was tired and praying that he wouldn't make them do more things. Fortunately for them, Izuku told them that they would be doing that for a month so that their bodies would adapt better and not go suddenly with a real hell I mean training. Fight against the teachers, part 1. After training the boys for 1 month, they were informed that they would have 5 exams, 4 written ones which were quite difficult, and they were also informed about a camp to which they were going to go to improve their quirks. The condition was that those who failed the exams, minimum 3/5, would not be allowed to go to the camp. Izuku helped Kayaka, Seiya, Kirishima, Tetsutetsu. He became a very good friend of Izuku, Bakugo, Aoyama and Melissa to study to avoid failing the written exams, while Momo helped Mina, Uraraka. Nobody knew, but Uraraka already had a business at UA, and something else, Izumi, Lita, Toru and Tokoyami. For 1 week, the written exams were held, and at the end many were happy, and others were quite nervous, since they had failed 2 exams, Mina, Kaminari, Mineta, Koda and Sato, so they depended a lot on the physical exam. The teams are as follows. 1 Momo and Todoroki. 2 Aoyama and Uraraka. 3 Kirishima and Sato. 4 Koda and Bakugo. 5 Izumi and Melissa. 6 Mineta and Shiro. 7 Kaminari and Mina. 8 Tokoyami and Seiya. 9 Shoji and Toru. 10 Lita and Jiro. 11 Izuku and Kayaka. Note. I'm not going to post the full fights because I'm too lazy and most of them happened the same. The only one I'll comment on will be Izuku's because it's the most important one. The first team to pass was Sato and Kirishima's. It was similar to the anime, only that Sato and Kirishima, having trained for a month with Izuku, would have lasted longer and would have devised a good strategy, but in the end they would not have succeeded, ending up losing the duo. The second team was Lita and Jiro. They won in an easier way thanks to Jiro's training with Izuku. The third team was Mineta and Shiro, just like in the anime. The fourth one was Kaminari and Mina's, just like the anime. The fifth was Shoji and Toru. As Shoji had trained with Izuku, he would have given his rival a fight so that Toru would put the handcuffs on him to win. The sixth was that of Momo and Todoroki. This was the same as the anime. The seventh was Aoyama and Uraraka's. Aoyama, having trained with Izuku, would have given 13 a better fight, leaving the duo as the winner. The eighth was Koda and Bakugo. These two, having trained with Izuku, would have planned a strategy with which Bakugo would have distracted Present Mick, and Koda took advantage of that to send all kinds of animals and insects to defeat him, which worked, leaving these two as the winners. The ninth was Tokoyami and Seiya's. Seiya gave her rival a fairly fair fight, leaving Tokoyami to put the handcuffs on her and then winning, leaving everyone quite surprised. Izawa. I wonder how it's possible that they've improved so much in 1 month. Hayaka. They improved so much since during that month they were training with Izuku. Everyone except those who trained Izuku were surprised that in just 1 month they had improved so much. The 10th fight was between Izumi and Melissa. After training with Izuku, Melissa had improved a lot in controlling one for all, whereas before she controlled 10%, she was now able to handle 30%. Almight didn't expect this, and it was the teamwork these two did that led them to victory. Before starting the last fight, which was Izuku and Kayaka's, they would have been given a warning. Nezu. Very well, young people, before starting the last fight I must warn you something. Izuku. And what is it that you must warn us? Nezu. We were going to have them fight against Endeavor, but someone offered to be their opponent and put that as a condition for his rival to lose it, he had to surrender. Kayaka. And could it be known who will be our opponent? She said it quite curious. That would be me, she said it with a whole lot of fun. Izuku. Kayaka. This must be a joke. Fight against the teachers, part 2. Izuku. Kayaka. This must be a joke. When do we start? Nezu. In a few moments. I just need you to introduce yourself by stating your name and quirk. Very well, my name is Ban the Undead, Mark of the Fox of Greed, and my magic power is Snatch. Lita. Is your quirk related to Izuku's? Ban. 1. I do not have what you know as a quirk, it is magical power, just as it sounds, and 2. It is the same, only that I have had this power for more than 5,000 years, which is why I have more control over Snatch. Mina. That's impossible. No one can live that long. Izuku. That's because he was an immortal raccoon. Mina. Somewhat offended and sad about the nickname given to Izuku, how was he immortal? Ban. My magical power Snatch not only allows me to steal energy and physical objects, during my time in purgatory, I discovered that my power not only stole, but could also give. One day I found Izuku very wounded, about to die. This would have shocked everyone who didn't know that, and those who already knew, with the exception of Kayaka and Izuku, it made them feel a great sense of guilt and sadness. At that moment I gave him a little of my immortality to heal him, and after a while I completely gave him my immortality, making Izuku immortal and becoming mortal myself. Melissa. How did you get your immortality, Mr. Ban? Ban. Please just call me Ban and I'll gladly tell you after my fight with Izuku and Kayaka. After that they would have arrived at a place similar to a forest, and they would be on top of a mountain that was in the center of the entire extensive forest. All the teachers would be watching the combat, since they wanted to know how strong those three were. Ban. I want to see how much progress you two have made, so, placing his 3-piece chacos behind his neck while in a combat pose, don't hold back. Izuku. Kayaka. Hi. After saying that, Izuku and Ban would have launched to fight each other with their 3 chacos, and Kayaka instead tried to help Izuku from a distance using her connectors and the wind waves that she threw, sometimes hitting Ban and other times Izuku. Both Izuku and Ban used the physical hunt, but Ban, having more experience both in combat and using Snatch, he would have the advantage if it weren't for the fact that he also had to take care of Kayaka's attacks. Izuku would have chosen to move away from Ban being imitated by Ban. When taking their distances, Izuku would have commented something that made everyone shocked. Izuku. I think it's time to use my quirk. Kayaka. She was surprised to know that her boyfriend had a quirk besides the Snatch power. What is your quirk called? She asked with great curiosity. Izuku. Ismonian. If you are reading my other story you already know what this power is about, and for those who haven't, if you saw Ben 10, you already know what an Ismonian is, and for those who haven't seen Ben 10, there is something called the internet. Ban. Then I'll go too, seriously, he said this with his characteristic foxy smile. After saying that you could feel a very large magical power capable of making all for one shit his pants, Izuku changed his body to a combination of Titanite, the crystal from which diamond from Ben 10 is made, purgatory metal, rubber, like Monkey D. Luffy, and the material of the cannon bolt armor, alien from Ben 10. Let me explain his appearance a little better. His entire body, except for his head, is made of demonic metal. Imagine him with the metal of Esterosa's sword when he fights Escanor and lions. His arms, from the elbow to his knuckles, were covered in Titanite, and on his torso, there was a kind of armor made of the cannon bolt armor material, and also his head and arms could stretch, not as much as Luffy, but he could stretch quite a bit, just those parts of his body. After Izuku's transformation, both Ban and Izuku would have launched into a new exchange of fierce blows, where a winner could not be decided, until Kayaka, using her quirk and Elaine's magical power combined and some physical combat, would be giving Ban a great fight, who knew that if this continued, it would be a tie, since the three would run out of energy at the same time at this rate, so Ban decided to end the fight. Ban would have moved away from the duo, giving 5 meters distance. Ban. It's time to end the fight. I surrender. This would leave everyone impressed since they didn't expect Bam to give up. Ban. I am satisfied with the progress of both and quite surprised by their well-synchronized teamwork. I have to say that I did not fight with 100% since I can't. This would leave everyone surprised until Izuku continued speaking. I can't access my 100% since for that I need my sacred treasure, which from now on you are officially the new sin of greed, Izuku of greed. This would leave everyone speechless since they didn't expect Ban to decide to leave his position as the immortal bandit to leave that position to Izuku. After saying that, the three of them would have gone to the monitoring room where everyone was waiting for them with many questions to ask. Upon arriving, the three were bombarded with questions, but after a small threat from Izuku, they calmed down, asking their questions one by one. Izumi. How is it possible that you have a quirk if the doctor said you didn't have one? Izuku. The doctor was wrong because my quirk is much harder to detect than others. Mina. How does your quirk work? Izuku. I can change the molecular structure of my body to any material I touch with my hands. It only works with solid materials. Bakugo. How long has it been since you awakened your quirk? Izuku. About 6 months ago. Izawa. How is it officially the new sin of greed? Ban. I used to be the sin of greed and my mark was that of the fox, showing him his mark on his torso, and since I consider him my little brother and my successor, I decided to make him the next sin of greed, but I barely made it official, and in case you're wondering, no. He's not going to get a tattoo on his torso like mine. This would relieve some, Mama Caterpillar, because he already has a scar very similar to my mark. Everyone would be shocked to know that, and both Bakugo and Kayaka would begin to understand why Izuku doesn't like to show his torso like Ban. Almight. What's your story, Ban? I won't post Ban's story since everyone here should already know it, and if you don't know it there is something called an anime and something called manga. For a very long time he explained what he suffered as a child, how he met Zhivago, how he met Elaine, and how with her words, the loneliness of 700 years could disappear in just 7 days, how he saw the only person he loved die in his arms at the hands of a red demon, and how he was blamed for having killed her unfairly. He also told how he met Meliodas and the rest of the sins, his adventures, the supposed betrayal. The fight against Fragran in Hendrickson's body, and how he replanted the tree in King Ada's forest when he went to the necropolis, how he freed himself from the clan of the goddesses, the demonic clan, the elite of the demons, the 10 commandments, also when they faced Galand and Melascula, how Lane was temporarily revived by Melascula, how they found Escanor, and how he defeated Galand and Melascula, the tournament of Droll and Gloxinia. The battle of his captain against the 10 commandments and his death, how Ban tried to save Meliodas, how he ventured alone to purgatory to save his friend, also how he gave his immortality to Elaine so that she could live, and how he was able to fight hand to hand against a demon king after ceasing to be immortal. Everyone would be surprised by everything that Ban had to live, and the women were crying, knowing that Ban never forgot Elaine, and that Ban did everything possible to revive his beloved. They would also have been surprised to know that Kayaka was the reincarnation of Elaine, and that currently Ban was the last deadly sin, that honor being transferred to Izuku who would keep his title and legend for many years. They also discovered that Kayaka was going to live many thousands of years, since fairies can live thousands of years, example. Gerhade, sister of Gloxinia and Gloxinia. After all that, they would have given the students a week of rest. Amp notice. After the events of the last chapter, you can see the entire class 1A waiting for Mama Caterpillar as she was going to give them the news of who was going to go to the camp and who wasn't. Some were excited about the camp and others were depressed because they already knew they weren't going to be able to go since some failed 3 exams, including the physical exam of course, fight with the teachers. After a short while waiting and some questions towards the green-haired and violet-haired who were already expecting the questions after Ban had told his story and how his descendants are inheriting his powers, feelings and sins. Mina. And what does your sin allow you to do? Izuku. It doesn't allow me to do anything since it is the mark and sin that they gave me unfairly, reminding not only me but everyone that because of my greed for wanting immortality, I ended up killing the guardian and without them knowing the only person I have ever loved. Everyone would be impressed to know that until Izawa arrived and upon entering he had told them to sit down so that he could then proceed to give the announcement. Izawa. As you may recall, the condition for going to camp was to not fail more than 2 exams and pass the physical exam in the end. It was decided that everyone without exception could attend with the condition that these students would have to attend extra classes which would be taught in a specific classroom only to students who did not pass the physical exam. Everyone would be really happy since everyone could go to camp. Izawa. You will have these 2 days to prepare all your things for the camp. Since today is Monday, on Thursday, I will wait for you at the entrance of the UA at 6 o'clock in the morning to leave as early as possible. By the way, Izuku, Jiro, tell Mr. Ban that he will also accompany us. It is more than anything for your safety and so that he can train both you and those of class 1B. You may leave. After that some would have gone to the mall to get some things they needed and others for fun, so to speak. Izuku and Kayaka would have gone to buy some things they needed to continue with the training and for the training that Ban would put on the others. While they did this, Kayaka separated for a while to go to the bathrooms, causing Izuku to be surprisingly attacked by Shigaraki, in which to threaten Izuku he told him that if he put 5 fingers on his neck, he could kill him. Izuku, to prevent the enemy from knowing about his immortality, was talking a little with Shigaraki until Kayaka arrived, which did nothing at Izuku's request to keep her powers a secret from her enemies. After that moment, Izuku and Kayaka would have left to return to Kayaka's house to drop her off and greet her in-laws, and then go to her house with the things she bought. Upon arriving at her house, Ban asked her why she brought so many training things. Izuku told him that he was going to go to the camp with them as protection for the students, and so he could train them. It should be said that Ban was happy for Troru I say train Izuku's teammates. When he saw Ban's reaction, he told everyone to make their will since Ban agreed to train them. The 2 days that were given to the students would have passed quickly, and a giant mutant caterpillar could be seen outside the entrance of UA, waiting for Class 1A and 1B. After about 15 minutes, both classes would have arrived, missing only Izuku and Ban, before Monoma began to insult Class 1A because their representative did not arrive. They had noticed that next to the trucks, there were 2 figures, which were Ban and Izuku, who claimed to have been waiting there for 20 minutes. After that, they saw that they were carrying a very large sack with objects that they would use for their training. Since there was not enough space in the trucks, Ban offered to carry it on his own following the trucks. Izawa initially disagreed, but seeing no other solution, Vlad would have convinced Izawa to let Ban take it on his own, and after a short while accommodating the students, they would have left with Ban following them closely, and every hour give a 15-minute break to go to the bathroom and give Ban a break. In total the trip was 4 hours, so that later they arrived at a hill where they would stop, confusing the students already Ban as to why they stopped there until the voice of a beautiful woman was heard. Izawa. Long time no see. Pamp. Izawa. Long time no see, said a beautiful brunette woman with a notable smile, being accompanied by a green-haired woman with a huge smile and a lot of energy, a blonde-haired woman who looked more serious than the previous one, and a man whose heterosexuality remains in doubt. Izawa. Long time no see. Mandalay. Ban. Who are they? Izawa. They are. Just imagine that Ragdoll and Tiger are with them. Everyone would be excited to see the hussy cats, except Kayaka, Izuku, Ban and Izawa, who had a big drop of sweat on their heads. Ban. And who is the kid? Mandalay. This is my nephew Kauda. Say hello Kauda, he said it with a warm smile towards Kauda. He just looked a little annoyed and headed to the car. Mina. A question, Izawa-sensei. Izawa. What is your question? Mina. Have we already arrived at the camp you said? Izawa. No, in fact that place is on the other side of the forest, and in case you're wondering, this forest is owned by the hussy cats. Everyone would be surprised by that information. Mandalay. That means they can use their quirks without any problem. Ban. How old are the 4 of them? Ichako. All 4 of them are 31, and despite that they are great. Pixie Bob. Quickly approaching Uraraka, grabbing her face with her hand paw. I'm 18 at heart, did you hear, at heart? Ban. You shouldn't be upset about being 31. Pixie Bob. You say that because you're still young, you look 25 years old, and by the way, who are you? Ban. I am Ban, the Fox of Greed. I am also the one who will partially train the children. You are wrong. I am not 25 years old. Mandalay. 30. Ban. No. Ragdoll. 29. Ban. No. Tiger. 35. Ban. Everyone looked at Tiger with a crazy face for saying so many years. No. Pixie Bob. It's obvious you're not older than us. Ban. I'm actually older than everyone here. Mandalay. You think so? He said without believing her. How old are you? Ban. I'm 29,498 years old. I don't remember if I already said Ban's age, but let's say he's that old, more than anything to give humanity time to progress technologically and for quirks to develop, and for the time he spent in purgatory. All Izuku and Kayaka. What? It is impossible for someone to live for that long. Ban. I used to be immortal and that's why I'm still alive. Mandalay. That is impossible. There is no immortality. Ban. 10,400 years ago there existed in a forest called the Forest of the King Ada, a fountain of which they said that if you drank the whole cup, you would be immortal. Due to certain events I was forced to drink it, becoming immortal. Everyone wanted to keep listening, but that was impossible thanks to Izawa. Izawa. If you want to continue listening to his story, it will be until you get to the camp. Hiroshima. I have a bad feeling. Mandalay. Pixie Bob has low. At that point, Pixie Bob would create a huge avalanche, taking the students of both classes to the bottom of the mountain. Mandalay. Using her telepathy, everyone has 3 hours to get to camp, and if they don't get there in less than 3 hours, they won't eat today. Good luck. Mineta. That will be easy, and by the way he couldn't finish because the Nightmare Teller effect would have made an appearance. Amanari unfortunately for him would also have suffered the effects of Nightmare Teller, both cursing Izuku for that and then receiving an airwave, causing them to crash into several trees, which would end up being destroyed. Hendo. Why did you do that, Jiro-san? Hayaka. He's a first-class pervert and he was planning to steal all of our underwear. Obara. Thanks for doing that, but how did you know that? Hayaka. For 2 reasons. 1. Because I am able to read the thoughts of whoever I want, and 2. Because Izuku left them a spell which is activated by their perverted thoughts, causing them mental torture. Yui. How do you torture them? Hayaka. Shows them their worst fears by making them live that for 2 days. 2 minutes out here are 2 days in their mind. They would all be surprised by that until they heard a great roar where a stone golem would be seen preparing to attack them, being stopped by Izuku. Izuku. This will be boring. Kayaka, do you want me to give you a ride? Hayaka. No thanks, but yes to them. Some girls would agree and others at first were not entirely convinced until she ended up taking all the others and ended up accepting Izuku's help. The boys also wanted a little help, but Izuku. I'm a gentleman and I help the ladies. You can defend yourselves, you bunch of assholes. To then disappear with Kayaka, who would have arrived at the camp with the other girls in less than 3 minutes, waiting for the hussy cats and their companions after everyone arrived. It would happen the same as in the anime. Start of training. The next day the hussy cats, Azawa, Vlad King and Ban, would agree on the training being that from 8 in the morning until 12 noon, they would be trained in their quirks by the hussy cats. They would have a 60-minute break to eat, go to the bathroom, relax, etc., and from 1 in the afternoon until 6 in the afternoon, giving the students who failed the physical exam 1 hour to rest before they have to go to extra classes. After all the kids from all the classes were gathered, their routine would be explained to them for the 2 weeks they would be there. I know it was originally for 1 week, but I see more sense in having Ban train them for more than 1 week. So they would start training with the hussy cats. Izuku and Kayaka would train their quirks, making Kayaka throw sound waves until she was tired, and Izuku was told to try to occupy 2 materials at a time, and not just 1, after those 4 hours that for many were hellish, except for Izuku who had already suffered worse things, until Ban's training arrived. And as you all know, you will all train with me for 5 hours. We will train your physique so that you can fight without depending on your quirk. Manama. But many already have the advantage of an increase in strength with their quirks. And they will do all the exercises without using their quirks. Tetsu. Will his training be hard? And for you it will be like being in purgatory, but only one of you will go to purgatory. Obara. Why will only one go to purgatory? And because only one of you can endure purgatory. Manama. It's probably me, ha. And in fact, the only ones who can go to the pyramid are Izuku and I. Tetsuna. Why can only you 2 go to purgatory and not us? And I was once immortal and it took me more than 200 years to adapt to the conditions of purgatory. A human cannot be in purgatory. Manama. And how are you so sure that we couldn't resist? And to begin with, time passes differently in purgatory. 1 minute here is 1 year in purgatory, and the air and atmosphere are truly deadly. Only Izuku and I have been able to endure the conditions of purgatory. Everyone would be surprised to know that since no one expected purgatory to be so deadly. Manama. Provello. And at that moment would open a kind of portal to purgatory where he would leave it open for a few moments, causing everyone to cough heavily and feel as if they were burning inside. Before this Izuku would enter with the compressed weights to the purgatory to begin training. After Izuku had entered the purgatory, Ban would close the portal so that everyone would return to normal little by little. Mandalay. Both the hussy cats and Vlad King and Azawa, that was that. Azawa. And where is Izuku? And 1. What they breathed and felt was the air and atmosphere of purgatory for only a few seconds, and 2. Izuku is in purgatory continuing with his training. Azawa. Como. And about 8 years ago, more or less Izuku was able to adapt to purgatory thanks to his immortality, although it took him longer than me. In the end he succeeded. Hendo. But wouldn't that be a different training than ours? And it's no use to him to train here anymore. He needs to train in purgatory for it to be useful to him. And by the way, go change due to the atmosphere you felt in purgatory. Your clothes were destroyed a little, and if you're wondering, mine and Izuku's clothes aren't destroyed because we made them from the creatures that live in purgatory. After about 15 minutes they would finally start training and would do a certain number of laps around a part of the forest, do a certain amount of push-ups, squats and sit-ups, in addition to a battle royale against Ban. After 4 hours everyone would be resting from their hellish training. I forgot to mention that the amount of exercises and laps are depending on their physical condition, and notice that even when they return to UA, they will continue with that training until they finish their studies at UA, and that each week they would add 10 exercises and 1 more lap after that everyone would be resting. The teachers making the decision that extra classes would not be necessary since band's training helped them with teamwork, the creation of plans that work in an improvised way and in both offensive and defensive tactics, in addition to the handling of various weapons, so that they have more chances to fight and win without making the mistake of killing their opponent by giving bands training from 1 to 7 of the night, leaving them the rest of the time to do whatever they wanted. Attack. After the events of the previous cap, it would have been 1 week and 2 days since they started training, and also since Izuku entered purgatory and hasn't come out in this time. Mineta tried to take advantage of the fact that Izuku wasn't there to spy on the girls with Kaminari. The problem was Nightmare Teller, which prevented them from doing that, and also because of Kayaka's miracle wind. Correct me if I'm wrong, since it always sent them flying, or sometimes Kendo would get in making her hands big and hitting them really hard, or Yui throwing stones at them that she enlarged when throwing them, or Urara attacking them with her Haramina with her grab, or all of them giving her a tremendous beating. The point is that Mineta couldn't do anything perverted. At 6:45 in the evening a portal would have opened from where a very toxic air and a very hostile atmosphere could be felt, but a silhouette could be seen coming out of the portal, and then it closed. The silhouette was obviously Izuku who was coming out. "Man. Are you done?" "Izuku? Yes, although I must admit that it was very difficult for me to defeat so many monsters." Mandalay. "Excuse me, I was wondering what young Izuku's training was like." "Man. It was to kill 100 inhabitants of Purgatory." "Tiger. And it only took 1 week and 2 days. Wow. Man. Remember that time and Purgatory flows differently. Izuku actually took approximately 12,960 years. Pixabob. Woo, that is amazing, although I must say it took a while." "Izuku. You say that because you didn't face those things." "Ragdoll. What do you mean?" "Izuku. Those things, since they were born there, are much faster, stronger, and much more resistant. It took me approximately 129.6 years to kill each one, and it was very difficult." "Man. When we return your training will be to kill 1 Endura." Izuku would be scared shitless to hear that the next training was to kill an Endura. "Izawa. Just arriving with Lad King and the 2 classes, could you explain to us what an Endura is and why Izuku looks pale, knowing that he has to kill one of those things?" "Man. An Endura are beasts that roam purgatory guided only by their instincts with absurdly great power. The 10 commandments were the elite force of the demons long ago and were capable of destroying entire kingdoms on their own one by one." "Mina. They were monsters." "Momo. But what do the 10 commandments have to do with the Endura?" "Man. 2 things. The first is that in the past the level of power was measured in numbers, and it was said that if a high-ranking demon sacrificed 6 of his 7 hearts and he had more than 45,000 power, they transformed into the Endura beasts having enormous power. The good thing is that this happened once with Monspeed and Durieri, 2 commandments being taken out in this way, thanks to the help of the goddess Elizabeth. And the second reason for the relationship of the 10 commandments with the Enduras, taking into account that with 15,000 power you could already destroy a large town without facing the 7 deadly sins, and Endura alone is stronger than the 10 commandments together. I do not know if it is stronger than all 10 commandments together or just some, and the 10 commandments together had a power of 386,973. Let's suppose that altogether they had this power, more or less, they are almost unstoppable. That's why Izuku is so scared. I've only managed to defeat 1 Endura, but I've never killed one." Mandalay. "And why do you think Izuku can?" "Man. Because he's been in purgatory longer than me. It's easier for him to take advantage of the terrain than me." Everyone would be surprised by that fact until the Hussy Cats had given the notice of the test of courage, and as there were no extra classes thanks to band's training on this occasion, everyone would participate. Everything had happened the same as in the anime, until the appearance of Magni and Spinner. Magni, having used his quirk with Ragdoll, she would be below Magni, causing some fear in the students until Ban with his snatch was able to bring Ragdoll back, surprising the villains quite a bit. And just before they could do the same, Tiger and Ban would have launched themselves against the villains, while Mandalay gave instructions to return. As Izawa and Vlad King were with all of them, they would have gone to the forest to look for the students who were left in the forest. Kayaka would remember Kauda, and she would have worried more since she had read Kauda's mind, realizing that they were going to kill him after passing that information to Mandalay and Izuku. Mandalay would have asked them as a favor that they went for him, and Izuku would have been guided by Kayaka. Upon arriving, Izuku quickly would have launched a strong blow with his 3 chakos in the face and in the pit of the stomach of Muscular, throwing him several meters back, surprising Kauta that they were going to rescue him. Kayaka quickly would have grabbed Kauta, but Izuku knew that Muscular would not let them all escape, so he asked Kayaka to take Kauta with Mandalay, since the fight was going to be brutal. Kayaka at first did not want to, but she knew that if Izuku did not stay, there was a great probability that Muscular would hurt Kayaka, and Kauta, after having withdrawn, Izuku would have used his physical hunt ability and would have rushed towards Muscular, blocking his blows and returning them with greater force. After about 2 minutes of fighting, Muscular was very tired, and instead Izuku was quite relaxed with his body visibly bigger and toned. After that, Izuku gave the final blow, burying him in the mountain, leaving him completely unconscious, and with enough wounds caused by Izuku's chakos ending that fight, Izuku quickly deactivated the technique, deciding to go look for more people who need his help or simply to fight more villains. On the way, he met Shoji hiding from Tokoyami, who lost control of Dark Shadow. After a few seconds, Izuku would have decided to look for Kitsuki and Todoroki to help them, with Tokoyami doing the same as in the anime, only here as Izuku is much faster. He charged Shoji and took him to where there was a wall of ice, being Dark Shadow who destroyed the wall, defeating Moonfish at the same time, and being Todoroki and Bakugo who with their quirks managed to calm Dark Shadow so that Tokoyami can control it once again. After saving Tokoyami, they would have heard in their heads Mandalay warning that the villain's objective was Bakugo. This would make Izuku be next to Bakugo protecting him, and behind them was Tokoyami. After a while they would have found Seiya and Uraraka fighting against Toga. Izuku, having arrived, would have used his snatch to remove the syringes that Uraraka and Seiya had, forcing Toga to retreat, but not before looking at Izuku with a look of love for the few scars that could be seen on Izuku for having his torso naked. After Toga retired, they would have realized that Tokoyami and Bakugo would have disappeared, making their appearance Mr. Compress the same as in the anime, being chased by everyone else and by Kayaka, which would have been able to catch them on the way. Having reached a somewhat clear area, Mr. Compress would have stopped being next to Toga. Abi and Tamura, Sin Spinner and Magni would have been defeated by Ban, and Tiger and Mustard by Ban, since he would have found Momo and Tetsu trying to defeat him, helping them ban to them. After having believed that they had Bakugo back, Kayaka would have told Izuku in a whisper that Compress had Bakugo in his mouth, and when he took him out, to take him off as quickly as possible. This would have gone well since, thanks to Izuku, they were able to take Bakugo away in time. The villains retreating quite angry, but without realizing it, another portal would have opened behind Kayaka, taking her, causing Izuku to get angry and a lot with the villains. Ragdoll could not be taken thanks to Ban, putting an end to the villains' attack. Rescue. After what happened at camp, Izuku would be frustrated since he couldn't protect the person he loves. After all, there would be some students in the hospital either due to injuries or because of the mustard gas. Meanwhile, in the room that Seiya and Uraraka shared, they were talking about what happened at camp, only it was somewhat difficult to talk due to the presence of a Sin who looked noticeably sad and angry. Hiroshima. Izuku, bro, calm down, we're all sad about what happened with Jiro. Izuku. But despite having this power, shedding a few tears and with an angry and frustrated tone, no, I could protect her, I don't want this to happen again. Everyone would feel really bad for Izuku, and some would even cry seeing Izuku's situation until Momo. Izuku, getting his attention. Izuku. What do you want, Yayoi Rozu? Still with tears coming out of his eyes, being covered by his hair. Momo. I was able to track a Nomu I saw, and I know where the Nomu is located with the help of this device, showing a kind of GPS where a red dot was seen in the location. Izuku ran towards Momo, hugging her, since thanks to her, he would be able to find Kayaka and save her. Izuku. Thank you, Momo, thank you, shed tears of happiness while hugging Momo. Momo didn't know what to do because she was surprised that after so many years he referred to her not by her last name in a cold way, but by her first name and with a tone of hope. Izuku. I must go rescue her, he said it with determination in his words and drying his tears. Bakugo. We'll go look for her, nerd, don't forget that to me, you're a brother, so your problems are mine too. Izuku. No, Kachin, I have to do this on my own. Shoto. You shouldn't do it alone. This would surprise everyone since they didn't expect Shoto to support Izuku in this. Sometimes the best way to do things is with the help of your friends and those who value your friendship, he said it with a smile which now would leave everyone in complete terror, making them think that the end of the world was approaching. Izuku. Thanks for your support, guys, he said it with a noticeable smile. Momo. I'll go with you too. Izuku. Piro. Momo. I'm the only one who knows how this works, and also because I really want to help you. From here on, the same people as in the anime would join, only Bakugo would be there instead of Kirishima, and the same discussion between going and not going would take place on the part of Class 1A. Meanwhile at the villain's base, they would try to get information from Kayaka about Izuku and his abilities. The problem is that they couldn't get any information from her, and also at All for One's request, they shouldn't hurt her or else they would die. Tamura. This is useless, master, she won't talk. He said this while talking to Afo through a screen on the wall. Afo? Well, talking to someone else who was with him, are you sure that what you have in mind will work? It is advisable that sin of greed is more dangerous than you think. Afo? I hope your strategy works out. Meanwhile at the Nomus factory. Izuku? Are you sure the Nomu is here? Momo? Here it is marked, she was carrying Shoto while Bakugo was carrying Izuku. Shoro? We enter and wait. Izuku? Let's wait and see if we can see anything that will help us get in or find out Kayaka's whereabouts. Meanwhile, outside the building where the League of Villains was hiding. Police chief. Are you sure we'll split up? Almight. According to what the young Aoi Rozu told us, she put a tracker on a Nomu, it's mostly to prevent them from escaping. This way if they try to escape to the Nomus's place, Mount Lady, Kamui Woods and Endeavor will be waiting for them while we take care of the villains over here. Police chief. Okay, let's get this started. Almight. Hi ONESHOT, your turn. ONESHOT nodded to begin his plan. Everything happened the same as in the anime, except that Kayaka would have helped them a little with Dabi's fire and to keep Kurogiri well imprisoned until that strange slime began to come out of their mouths, taking them away from the place and leaving several Nomus in their place, causing them to have to defeat them before doing anything. All the heroes with those Nomus, the base where the Nomus warehouse was would have incredibly exploded, revealing the entire League of Villains, with Kayaka and a guy who wore a mask, also had a completely disfigured face and was wearing a black suit. This guy would leave the heroes quite nervous since they didn't know how strong that guy was or what his quirk was. Tamura. Master, why did you do it? Afo. I don't want you to get caught, besides someone also asked me to do it to get someone's attention. Tamura. Who's? Afo. I don't know, from what he said he had a score to settle with him. And that MT lady would have thrown one punch towards Afo. To her misfortune, Afo shot a stream of condensed air from his arm, causing her to repel the blow and at the same time causing her to crash into another building due to the power of the attack. From there on, Endeavor, Kamui Woods and Gran Torino, which had joined shortly after, would be attacking Afo with everything. Everything would be broadcast on television, leaving all the spectators shocked, since not even the effort of those heroes together could against Afo. After a few minutes, All Might would arrive to fight against Afo, while Kayaka defended herself from the rest of the League of Villains, keeping them away to avoid damage. Just when the fight between Afo and All Might was about to start, Shoto, Lita, Momo, Bakugo and Izuku would come out to save Kayaka, achieving their goal. But Magni would just throw Mr. Compress to catch them. Mount Lady was going to stop him with the help of her quirk, but Izuku would break free, causing him to hit Mr. Compress, sending him back and falling next to the League of Villains. If you're wondering where Ban was, he got drunk and is now unconscious from so much alcohol. All Might. What is young Izuku doing? Go away. Izuku. Don't worry, I can take care of the villains. Don't worry, if you hurt me I'll be fine, giving him a Ban-style foxy smile. All Might. I trust you, Greed Fox. Afo. Is that your successor, a symbol of peace? All Might. No, he is not my successor, but I am sure that if I can't defeat you he can. Afo. So let's start. Afo would throw a powerful air current at him, which All Might would have repelled with a powerful smash, but Afo would throw so many air currents, leaving All Might quite injured, and after a current of dust had dispersed, All Might would be seen in his bony form, impressing all the spectators by seeing him in that form. Afo took the opportunity to make fun of him, and at the same time of his teacher, making All Might feel powerless. While that was happening, Izuku managed to knock everyone out. Izuku, seeing All Might's condition, said. Izuku. You can be All Might, it doesn't matter what you look like or anything like that. All Might isn't just a muscle guy. What makes you All Might is the power to save everyone with a smile no matter what. So now stand up, smile and tell everyone everything is fine. Those words would have given All Might confidence and he would launch himself against Afo, causing an epic fight happening just like in the anime. Sorry for not describing it, but the truth is I couldn't think of a way to do it. When defeating him the same thing would happen, but there was something that disconcerted everyone, and that was that while they were taking Afo he was laughing out loud. All Might. What are you laughing at? You've finally been defeated. Afo. Using his quirk to bring someone else to the battlefield. Maybe you defeated me, but you won't be able to defeat him. Ha 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 ha. Then someone mysterious appeared, about 4 meters tall and with a fearsome aura and with a kind of spear in one hand. Where is the Fox of Greed? Izuku, being very serious since he knew the subject would approach him, saying. Izuku. Here I am. The battle of thousands of years ago continues. Where is the Fox of Greed? With a somewhat lazy tone. Izuku. Here I am, standing in front of him, gallant. You're not the Fox of Greed, although you're quite familiar to me. Izuku. The original sin of greed, Ban the Bandit, has passed on his memories and powers to me, and now I am the new sin of greed, he said it with pride and a serious face. Almight. Young Izuku. Go away, he looks very dangerous. Izuku. None of you can beat him. I would also recommend that you not lie in his presence. Endeavor. Why? Izuku. He was known as the Gallant of Truth, one of the 10 commandments, and an elite demon. His commandment causes anyone who tells a lie in his presence to be turned into stone for eternity, although the bearer of this commandment is also affected by the commandment. Empty lady. That's a very powerful quirk, she said it with a noticeable tone of fear. Izuku. That's not a quirk. The commandments are fragments of power granted to the 10 commandments by the Demon King himself in the past. Quirks didn't exist, and instead, magical abilities like my snatch existed. That's why Eraserhead can't erase my snatch, because it's not a quirk. Deadshot. And how do we know you're not lying? Izuku. Because I didn't turn into stone thanks to Gallant. Gallant. From what I see, you've become very strong, and how did you know about the commandments? Izuku. I've been to Purgatory, home of the demons also. Our captain was the former leader of the 10 commandments, also being the former bearer of the commandment of love many years ago. Our captain explained it to us. Gallant. I see. Izuku. But that doesn't explain how you're still alive. Gallant. When Estarossa took away my commandment of truth, I thought I couldn't save myself, but then I don't know why, but I rebuilt myself, but only for a few moments, because then I turned back into stone, and I had my commandment back. I don't understand what happened, but after a while a strange guy, I think his name was Shizaki, along with a white-haired girl with a small horn on her head, they returned me to how I was before I turned into stone. After that I killed some humans, and left there after a Well, I met that guy, pointing to Afo, and since he said something about getting revenge on the Fox of Greed, I decided to join him for a while to get revenge on that damn fox, but now I have you right in front of me. Izuku. I see. How about we play a game? Gallant. I'm listening. Everyone, in their minds. What is that idiot doing? Izuku. Fight to the death. We take turns hitting each other, and the first one to die loses. If you accept, you will no longer be able to escape. Gallant. Sounds good to me. I'll start, he said, grabbing his spear and sticking it in his shoulder. Now it's your turn. Izuku. Well, taking out his sacred treasure released Assault Hunter. After that he would attack in a frenzied way, being in a type of frenzy, hitting in a very ferocious way, leaving Gallant seriously injured. All spectators. What was that? Hayaka. It's the ability of his sacred treasure super concentration. That weapon allows him to freely make attacks at irregular speeds, angles and distances, being captured by the cameras and microphones of the reporters present, and at his current level, he should be able to manifest absolute speed, range and strength, but the special ability of that weapon takes all of that to its maximum level. Gallant. Well, he finished regenerating with the help of dark matter. I'm going to, seriously. Critical over. Izuku. With that ability your physical abilities are taken to the limit, and during that state your power is 60,000. Note. I know the anime says it's 40,000, but taking into account that in all those millennia Gallant could have gotten more magic, he could have gotten that level of power with his critical over. Gallant. Now I'm more powerful and you're going to lose. While saying this he would throw a powerful slash, cutting even the debris that was behind Izuku. What surprised everyone is that only the lower part of Izuku remained. Gallant. Ha 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 ha, I think I already won, ha 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 ha. Everyone except 1A and 1B would be sad about Izuku's death. Almight. Damn you. How could you? He said it with great anger. Gallant. Next will be that brat. Pointing at Kayaka. Kayaka. You've already screwed up. Gallant. Why do you say that? Izuku. Sacred treasure released. All. What? Gallant. How is it possible that you are still alive? Izuku. I am Izuku of Greed, also known as Izuku the Undead Hunter Fest. And now you will die. Assault Hunter. Gallant was unable to defend himself and was brutally beaten to the point of being completely destroyed, leaving only his battle spear as proof that he existed. All the spectators were shocked to see how strong Izuku was and his abilities. In light of this, many villains who saw this reconsidered the idea of giving up being villains and dedicating themselves to something else for fear of that happening to them. Izuku. This is a warning. Anyone who dares touch even a hair of my love, pointing at Kayaka, will wish they never existed. But this, absolutely everyone without exception made a mental note to never do anything to Kayaka and never make Izuku angry, thus ending a battle that lasted for millennia. But today that fight finally ended, officially leaving all the commandments dead. I know Zeldris didn't die, but let's be honest, after everything that happened in the manga, it's obvious that Zeldris was no longer a commandment, or so I thought. Filling explanation to the press and the world. After Izuku had made his threat and defeated the last commandment, the civilians who didn't know him until now would consider this action as the debut of a new hero. Others saw it with respect since he showed not only his power but also the love and affection he has for his partner and that he will do anything for her. Others saw it as evil acts with a noble and very heroic purpose, and others saw it with fear. These last ones were the villains and corrupt heroes, and others didn't know what to think since they didn't feel entirely safe with him, seeing how he killed what they believed to be a villain for this. The Japanese government decided to ask Izuku a series of interview-style questions to clarify everything and give his reasons for why he killed that villain. This process would take 2 days, currently being Monday. They would have called Izuku, Kayaka and Ban, the latter at Izuku's request, to clarify everything. At UA they would let their students see the interview with Izuku since according to them, this way they could know more about him. This would include Izuku's teachers and ex-family. After a few minutes, approximately 45 minutes, they would arrive where the interview would be, Izuku and Kayaka arriving with their hero costumes, and Ban with his red clothes, along with a trench coat of the same color, the one from season 2. After walking for 5 minutes in the building, they would arrive at a kind of huge patio, where there were many reporters and television cameras which reported everything live and direct. They broadcast everything both on TV and on social networks. Twitch and YouTube. President. It's a pleasure to have you three here, he said this while shaking hands with Izuku, Kayaka and Ban, and then inviting them to sit down. Izuku. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but could we start with the questions? I'm in a bit of a hurry. President. Of course, turning to the reporters, who wants to ask the first question? Reporter 1. Who was the villain you killed 2 days ago? Izuku. He was known as the Gallant of Truth, one of the 10 Commandments. Reporter 1. What are the 10 Commandments? Do they have any relation to the 10 Commandments of the Catholic religion? Correct me if I'm wrong. Izuku. No, they have nothing to do with the 10 Commandments of the Catholic religion. Ban, could you explain it, since you're the one who knows the most about them? Ban. Okay, the 10 Commandments existed millions of years ago. They were the elite force of the demons possessing one commandment each member, which were given by the Demon King himself. I was immortal long ago, so I could face these 10 beings of pure evil, who only sought to kill for no apparent reason. Each commandment had a different effect if you broke the commandment, like the commandment of love. Its bearer was called Estarossa. This commandment worked as follows: if someone felt hatred in the presence of Estarossa, they lost all their strength, being unable to move. The effect of these commandments also affected the bearers of the same as happened millions of years ago. With Gallant of the Truth, the commandment turns into stone. Whoever tells a lie in the presence of Gallant, that is why that hero who was in the place turned into stone. I know I did not put it in the previous chapter, but let's say that for wanting to make himself strong a corrupt hero turned to stone. Reporter 2. Can the effects of those commandments be reversed? And what exactly are they? Ban. Yes, it can be reversed. This would make everyone a little happy until Ban spoke, but in order to reverse it, the commandment of mercy is necessary. I don't know if this is true, but let's suppose it is, and currently the commandment of truth was the only one left. The other 9 commandments were destroyed because of how dangerous they were. And answering your other question, the commandments, as Izuku already said, are small portions of all the Demon King's power. Reporter 2. Why did the boy introduce himself as the Fox of Greed? Ban. Because he is my successor. I was a member of the strongest group of knights in all of Britain, the 7 deadly sins. My sin and mark was the Fox of Greed. Reporter 3. And why did they give you that sin? Ban. It's something I don't like to talk about, but I'll tell you. In the past there was a place called the Forest of King Ada, and in this there was a fountain, and its water could be said to have come from a cup. This fountain was known as the Fountain of Eternal Life. In those times it was considered a legend. I was told the story as a child, and I became a little obsessed with finding that fountain. One day I found it, but there was a priestess who was the sister of King Ada who protected this fountain. When I got there I was sent flying by the miracle wind power of the priestess, but it wasn't once, but several times, until I got tired and decided to steal it with my chacos. I succeeded, but she managed to prevent me from drinking it and explained to me that without that fountain, the forest would perish. Upon hearing that, I decided to stop trying to steal the fountain and decided to stay with her a little longer, since she was the only one who understood the pain of loneliness, and I have to say that I really enjoyed spending time with her, from which she told her brother. Kayaka. Filled the void of 700 years of loneliness in just 7 days. Ban. That's right, she said this because she died one day. I was asleep, a red demon attacked, and I was confident at that moment. I didn't know that demons had more than one heart, so I took one of its hearts, but the demon attacked us and left us seriously injured at that moment. The priestess Elaine told me to drink the Fountain of Eternal Life. Since she wanted me to live, I told her no, and that it was better for her to drink it. She drank from the cup, but she didn't swallow it. Instead, she gave me immortality. Izuku. With a kiss. Ban. and thanks to that I was able to kill the demon, becoming the first human capable of killing a demon, but I couldn't save the only person who truly mattered to me and whom I've loved all my life. Ayaka. Elaine. Ban. Because of that I was accused of killing the priestess because of my greed, destroying King Ada's forest, all just for wanting the source of immortality. Nobody knew the truth, and they wouldn't believe me either. They judged me unfairly, until the arrival of the leader of the 7 deadly sins, Meliodas, symbol of the dragon, sin of wrath. He proposed that I join him, and at first I didn't accept, but after a battle against him, I decided to join since he was very powerful, and despite not knowing my past, he gave me a second chance in a very kind way, and with his characteristic carefree attitude, I owe a lot to him since with him I discovered one more reason to live. Reporter 3. Wiping away tears after hearing Ban's story. Who were the 7 deadly sins? Ban. You can explain that, Izuku. Izuku. Okay, the 7 deadly sins was a group of knights who were recruited by the King of Lions, being made up of 7 sinners. The members were Ban the Fox of Greed, Diane the Snake of Envy. She was a giant who, due to her enormous size, was discriminated against by humans, coming to feel envy towards normal people. In addition to that, in her own clan they did not want her because the giants had the belief that giants should fight and die in battle in an honorable way. Diane did not believe in this, and that is why she was discriminated against by her clan king. The Bear of Laziness King was the king of the forest of King Ada. One day he had to go save his best friend because he was captured by humans. King, when he arrived, was attacked from behind, leaving him unconscious for many years. He was saved by Diane when she was a child, and they lived together for many years. The problem was that King forgot that he was King Ada, and even after hundreds of years he remembered everything, and in a town near where they were it caught fire, and King went to see what had happened, finding that his friend had become a crude genocidal, and consequently had to take his friend's life. He was blamed that because of his laziness, many innocent people died when they didn't know what had really happened. The next is Gother, the Goat of Lust. He was a doll created by a very powerful wizard who was part of the 10 Commandments. The wizard Gother, this doll was created so that Gother could fulfill the dream that the wizard could not. The Gother doll was created with a magic heart with which he could feel human emotions and feelings. After many years he met a beautiful princess with whom little by little he fell in love, and vice versa. The problem was that the princess was in very poor health and unfortunately died in the hands of the person she loved. Gother, he felt devastated, and he tried to give her his heart so she could live, but it didn't work. When the guards arrived, they thought that Gother had killed her, and he was accused of killing the princess because of his lust. Gother decided to erase his own memories because he didn't want to feel those feelings again until King and Diane helped him with that. Next is Merlin, the Boar of Gluttony. She was the daughter of a great magician known in his time as Belial. I think that's how it was spelled. She was born with a very powerful ability known as Infinity. This power allowed her to make any spell she made could last as long as she wanted without exhausting. This ability was desired at the time by the Demon King and the Supreme Deity. These two coming to offer her, I do not remember what they offered to Merlin, to join them. She in turn was so cunning that she deceived both, leaving them both very angry and being able to stop her own lifetime, becoming able to live for more than 3,000 years, and she was not blamed as such. She had that sin due to her gluttony of knowledge, since she always wanted to know more. The one that follows is Escanor, the Lion of Pride. He was the prince of a kingdom which was blessed because he was born with the power of one of the 4 archangels, the elite of the clan of the deities, the sunshine. The power worked as follows: from the time the sun rose its power grew until noon, where it reached its maximum point, and from there it descended until that was done at night. Not only his power increased, but his muscles and pride also grew. And at night he returned to normal. Due to this power he was considered in his own kingdom as a monster, and they tried to kill him. A magician known by the name of Rosa, who sent the prince in a wooden barrel to the sea so that he could be saved for years. He used his power to help people who needed it, but it was misinterpreted, and he was accused of attacking several innocent people for no reason. At that time, there were already 6 of 7 sins. So among these 6 sins, at night they spoke to him, and during the day they tried to make him join them. At first, he did not want to until they told him that each one was special in a certain way, and after a battle against Meliodas which he lost, they helped him control that power. And finally the leader of the 7 deadly sins, Meliodas, the Dragon of Wrath. He was a demon, the former leader of the 10 Commandments, being so powerful that even the clan of the goddesses and the commandments themselves were afraid of him since he was known for having no mercy. He was considered the strongest being in the world after the Demon King and the Supreme Deity, but he ended up falling in love with the goddess Elizabeth, coming to betray his own clan and kill 2 commandments that were with him. Unfortunately for him and Elizabeth, They at the end of the Holy War faced against a demon king, and the supreme deity Meliodas was cursed in such a way that every time he died, he would revive at the cost of losing each time a part of his feelings, so that he would once again become that demon that all races feared. And Elizabeth was cursed in such a way that at the moment of dying, she would be reincarnated, and she would always meet Meliodas, and she would end up falling in love with him always, and also if she recovered her memories of her past lives she was going to die in 3 days, and this was going to repeat itself endlessly. After Meliodas had seen this countless times, a demon named Fragran killed Elizabeth 106. I think Liz was the 106 in front of Meliodas. He couldn't contain his anger, and when he wanted to release all his anger and pain from seeing this, he destroyed the entire kingdom, leaving only a large crater where a kingdom had once been. Killing and destroying everything in the kingdom. He wasn't accused of anything because it was never known what he did until much later, but by then that it didn't matter anymore. That's the story of the 7 deadly sins. Reporter 4. Still surprised by the story he had just heard. This is for the young lady. How is she related to all of this? Hayaka. I am Elaine's successor and her reincarnation. Because of this, I have Elaine's memories and powers. That's why I already knew several of the things they told me. Reporter 4. And what is this about sacred treasures? Ban. Sacred treasures are weapons with which we can harness our maximum power. Only the 7 deadly sins had sacred treasures. Izuku's is the divine staff Karakhouse. King's was the spiritual spear Chastafel. Correct me if I wrote it wrong. Diane's was the battle hammer Gideon. Gothar's are the twin bows Herod. I think it was written. Merlin's is the morning star Alden. You know, Eskinar's is the divine axe Rita, and Meliodas was the demonic sword Lostbane. Reporter 3. What happens when a sacred treasure is released? Ban. Each sacred treasure has a different special ability. When releasing a sacred treasure, it usually consumes a lot of magical power, like the Karakhouse divine staff, which is super concentration. The release of Chastafel is that it increases the power of the same spear and takes it to its true form, which consumes a lot of power from its bearer. The release of Gideon is lightning rod. This directs any magical power towards the earth. The problem is that everything that is living on earth suffers damage and also improves Diane's manipulation of the earth. Gothar's in general can extend the range of his magical abilities. Merlin's allows him to better use some of his spells. In addition to using it to do the spells Exterminate Ray and Perfect Cube, Rita's release allows him to release all the heat he stores from the heat he absorbs from Eskinar's body at will and with great precision, and the release of Lostbane is cloning. It allows him to create physical clones. The weak thing about this is that the power of the clones, depending on the number of clones there are, will be the number of times their power is divided. For example, if Meliodas created 4 clones, the power that Meliodas has will be divided into 4 between his clones equally, but these clones can also use special techniques like the full counter. Reporter 1. What is the full counter? Izuku. It is a magical ability which allows to reflect any magical power or quirk with double the original power. In case you were wondering, it is possible to use the clones in such a way that the full counter is used to direct the power between each other to make the power much stronger until one wants. Reporter 4. Where are the other sacred treasures? Ban. They are all scattered throughout the world. I don't know specifically, but don't get excited. No one will be able to occupy them unless King Barter or the sins themselves gave them to you. You can't occupy them no matter what you do. Only the original sins and Izuku can occupy them. Reporter 1. Why did you kill that Galland? Izuku. If he had left Galland alive, he could have become stronger, and there's nothing that could hold him back. Honestly, I trust the old school method more. President. And what is that method? Izuku and Kayaka. Kill the enemy or villain if they did too much damage. Hayaka. We have more of the idea that if the villains don't change in 2 years while being imprisoned, it is necessary to kill them, since later they could be a big problem. Izuku. And we're being nice, since before it was either you kill him or he kills you. There was no other way. It was kill or kill, and if you didn't kill your enemy, you were considered a traitor. That's true. After the arrival of the sins they all became nicer. That's true if the villain has done a lot of damage like killing innocent people. Hayaka. Her death is inevitable. President. So you'll only kill the villains who deserve it? All 3. Exactly. President. Let's do this. You can kill the villains you think deserve it, but if you kill someone who is innocent, you should be held accountable for your actions. All 3. No problem. President. So that's it for the question period. You may withdraw. The 3 of them simply left to go home, and so their day finally ended. This lie. After everything that happened in the previous cap, it would have been made known to the whole world that everyone is sure, thanks to what one of the oldest legends is real, being that of the 7 deadly sins, and that was emphasized after what happened with Galland. 2 days passed since the press conference and ban, Kayaka. Izuku and Bakugo would have received an invitation to go to Island I where at first Ban and Izuku did not want to go, but they would have been convinced by Kayaka and Bakugo. Although Kayaka's thing was more of a threat, the point is that they ended up going to Island I where upon arrival, they would see a very technologically advanced mini-city, and they also met Melissa and All Might. Izuku. Wow, I didn't expect to find them here. Kayaka. Who are you referring to? Izuku would just aim at where Melissa was and All Might. Ban. Do you think they saw us? Melissa. Chikuo. Ban. I take it back. Kayaka. Being hugged by Melissa. Hello Melissa, how have you been? Melissa. Very well, thanks for asking. Izuku. Did you come by invitation or on your own? Melissa. A bit of both. Meanwhile, All Might was trying to escape from the journalists and reporters who were there. Kayaka. You lived here, right? Melissa. How did you know? Kayaka. I can read other people's minds, don't tell anyone. Melissa. Okay. Izuku. And why did you decide to leave here? Melissa. I couldn't be a hero here and Uncle Might offered me to stay with him in Japan and get into UA. Ban. What do you mean, Uncle Might? Melissa. I already messed up, right? Kayaka. If you want, I'll tell them about One for All. Izuku. What is that? Melissa. Please don't tell them. Ban. Why not? Melissa. Let's go somewhere more private and we also have to wait for Uncle Might to be present. Bakugo. Don't forget to explain that Uncle Might thing to us. Izuku. Damn, I forgot you were here, Bakugo. Bakugo. The one who absolutely no one remembered was Kirishima. Kirishima. Someone talk to me. Izuku. Why don't you go see where we'll be staying and get to know the place better? Kirishima. Okay, and went in search of his rooms. Bakugo. The idiot went in the opposite direction. Ban. Leave it that way, she'll lose more time and she'll be able to explain everything to us, although we could also ask Kayaka. Kayaka. And why me? Ban. Because you can read minds and we can't. Kayaka. Good point, but what if I don't want to? Izuku. Whispering in his ear, I'm sure you tell me not to ta. At this, Kayaka would blush a lot, almost looking like a tomato, and quickly shake her head. After that they would have gone to a less crowded area which surprised everyone a lot since they believed that was impossible, and more on Island I. All Might would have also arrived in his skeletal form to avoid being invaded by questions. Ban. Now, explain to us first about Uncle Might. Melissa. When All Might came to the United States, he met my father, who was an inventor. My dad created a wide variety of outfits for All Might. Since they knew each other since they were young, they are very good friends, allowing me to tell him All Might. Ban. Okay, and that One for All? What is it? All Might. How did they find out about that? Izuku. Kayaka read Melissa's mind and unintentionally ended up discovering that Melissa's who is the OFA, but we don't know anything else. Melissa. Shall we tell you all about the OFA? Kayaka. If you tell me a lie I'll know very quickly. All Might. Why does young Jiro say that? Kayaka. He's deaf, right? Didn't he hear that they said a moment ago that he could read people's minds? All Might. I just ask that you don't say anything I'm going to tell you to anyone. Izuku. Ban. I don't promise anything. They receive a death glare from Kayaka. I mean we promise. The glare stops being death glare, from which we are saved. They said this in their minds incredibly in a synchronized way, making Kayaka giggle when she heard that. I'm skipping this part just because I don't want to explain what we all already know about OFA. Ban. A power that is inherited in that way is rare. Izuku. But can that power be taken away by force? All Might. No, it can only be passed if the carrier does so voluntarily. Kayaka. Who's hungry? Izuku. Ban. Yo. Bakugo. I'm going to see what to explode. Izuku. I think I saw some towers on the plane that look like the Twin Towers. Bakugo. Allahu Akbar. After saying that he ran away with the intention of finding those towers to exploit them. Izuku. Watching Bakugo run away. Kayaka. I haven't seen any tower like that. Izuku. You know. Kayaka. Well done, giving him a thumbs up. Izuku. By the way, do you know where there's a bar near here? All Might. Like 2 blocks from here. Why? Izuku. Because Ban just left to look for the bar. Kayaka. Don't you feel like seeing your father after so much? Melissa. Melissa. Are they trying to make me go with Uncle Might? Izuku. Kayaka. Sip. Melissa. Let's go quick, Uncle Might. After saying that they would have disappeared in a yellow ray and a blue and red one. Izuku. Do you want to go see if Kirishima has already found our room or are we going to look for it? Kayaka. Let's go. I doubt Kirishima has arrived at the hotel. After that they went to look for their room, meeting Kirishima on the way and then telling him that they were on their way to the hotel, so that after 5 minutes they would arrive and leave their things in their respective rooms. After a short while they would have gone with their hero costumes to where they were doing the robot destruction test in the shortest time, being the winner at the moment is Shoto. Hayaka. Why don't you go in and show them what speed is? Izuku. Okay, getting off the balcony and arriving at where the presenter was. Presenter. Do you also want to participate? Izuku. Yes. Presenter. Okay, there are 10 robots. I honestly don't remember how many there were, but let's say there are 10, and you must destroy them as quickly as possible. Izuku. Never mind. Presenter. Are you ready? Izuku. Never mind. Presenter. Start. Izuku with his enormous speed achieved in Purgatory would destroy all the robots in 1 second, leaving everyone shocked. Presenter. 1 second. Incredible. I think we have a clear winner. Bakugo, upon seeing Izuku, would run towards him quite angry. Bakugo. Damn you nerd. Tackling Izuku, there was no tower like the twins. Izuku. Calm down, repress your impulses to explode everything. Hayaka. Leave him, can't you see he's a Muslim? Izuku. Good point. After that everyone would be informed that there was going to be a dance in which everyone was invited, feeling those who are going. Ban. Izuku. Hayaka. Bakugo. Todoroki. Lita. Mineta. Momo. Uraraka. Kirishima. Melissa. Tokoyami. Everyone had agreed to meet at the entrance so they would all enter together, except for Ban as he entered quickly to start drinking. After a while everyone would have arrived and would be ready to enter, until an alarm was heard, saying that the security system was activated throughout the island, leaving the aspiring heroes locked in the lobby, and some robots would have gone out into the streets to guide people to the buildings to keep them safe. After hearing that alert, Kayaka would have read the minds of those inside the building to know what was happening. Hayaka. Apparently they captured your dad Melissa and left everyone immobilized except Ban. He used zero sight and is hiding to see when to attack the villains. From what I understood they are going to the top floor. Melissa. But the stairs are sealed off and the elevators aren't working. Izuku. Some parts are sealed and others aren't, so that means we can climb up to a certain point and then look for other ways to get up. Mineta. But how are we going to do it? There are surely more villains on the way. Izuku. So? They, pointing to where the party is, depend on what we do. If we don't do anything, bad things will surely happen. Melissa. We have to go, besides I think only I can disable the security system and free the heroes. Bakugo. So what are we waiting for? Let's save them. All. Hi. From there everyone would be running through the stairs, reaching an area where there would be many robots blocking their way, because as Lita destroyed a door with a kick, she caught the attention of the villains who were controlling everything, and they sent the robots to them. Everyone would be preparing to fight, but Izuku would take out his sacred treasure by jumping into the center of all the robots while he was in the air. Izuku. Assault Hunter. After saying that, all the robots would have been destroyed, leaving the path clear to move forward. While they were going up to the lower part where the party was held, they would be using their chacos to defend the civilians, and with the help of the heroes, they were able to defend the civilians. Almight. Thanks for freeing us, Ban. Ban. Whatever, we have to get out of here. Random guest. That's impossible, those doors are much stronger than the others, and there are also a lot of robots ready to fire poison grenades at anything. Ban. You guys go up to an area where that poison won't affect you. Endeavor. What do you plan to do? Ban. How potent is the poison? Random guest. If you breathe it in 10 minutes you will die. Ban. I'll stay here to destroy those robots. Random guest. But you will die. Ban. The air of Purgatory itself is more toxic than that'll be fine. Almight. Everyone quickly go to the top and get to safe. They would all have run to where I tell them, Almight seeing from where they were what Ban was doing. Ban would have used his strength to break down the door, causing the robots to shoot poison grenades at him. Through the cameras that those robots had, the villains, seeing what filled the area with poison, thought that Ban would be dead until a kind of purple whip would be seen, which was destroying the robots quickly, leaving the villains surprised, since they did not expect that after about 5 minutes, all the robots would have been destroyed and the place would also have been ventilated so that the poison would go away. After there was no more poison, you could see Ban sitting drinking, taking a drop of sweat from everyone present, but they quickly left that state since many were worried about Ban since they believed he was going to die. Endeavor. We should take you to a hospital to get checked out. Ban. Not necessary. Almight. But with so much poison, no matter what he lived through he could die. Ban. I already said it, nothing's going to happen to me, besides, the air in Purgatory is more toxic and I had to breathe it for more than 15,000 years. After that many would have relaxed until All Might along with Endeavor convinced them to go help Izuku. While that was happening the boys had already reached the highest part, let's say that the climb was the same as in the movie, except that Kayaka is with Melissa and Izuku. I'm skipping the part explaining why all that happened since it was the same as in the anime until the part where the villain puts on the artifact to increase his power. Villain. After destroying everything and making his Megazord giant metal armor, now I'm unstoppable, not even All Might wants to stop me. Izuku. While holding Kayaka and Melissa, he's become very strong, but he's not stronger than Gallant. Kayaka. Don't even think about fighting him alone. Melissa. Let us help you. Izuku. I'm sorry, but I can't let them hurt you. After saying that, Izuku would have thrown them towards Ban, who had appeared just in time to catch them and take them to a safer place. Of course, he just walked away with both of them in his arms, and that was it. Izuku. Very well timed to put that son of a bitch in his place. Villain. While trying to crush All Might, I'll finally do something no one else has been able to kill the symbol of peace. But suddenly a purple whip would have grabbed All Might, taking him away from the villain. All Might. What is young Izuku doing? He won't be able to beat him. Izuku. This guy is weak. Izuku was crushed and only a pool of blood remained. Villain. Ha 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 ha. He was just a bucking bitch. Ha 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 ha. Izuku. What's so funny? Villain. How the hell is he still alive? He said this terrified since he thought he was dead. Izuku. I just want to tell you, while walking slowly towards him, that you're screwed, while taking out his sacred treasure released. While jumping to get to his height, Assault Hunter. Izuku would have destroyed all of the villain's armor, leaving everything battered on the ground and the artifact shattered. What Izuku didn't know is that everything was broadcast all over the world. Izuku. Like I said, I was a weakling since I didn't try hard, and with Gallant, I did have to try hard. After that Izuku would go down the building heading to where Ban was with Kayaka and Melissa. Kayaka. Melissa. Izuku. Izuku. Before you say anything else, can we talk privately? Looking at all the reporters around. The two nodded and headed to the room where Izuku and Kayaka were staying to talk more comfortably after Melissa's dad was taken away. I don't know if you've noticed, but I don't remember Melissa's dad's name, and I don't remember if he was Melissa's father or just a relative. If you could tell me, I would really appreciate it. Already in the room there was an awkward silence for a couple of minutes until Izuku decided to break the silence. Izuku. Melissa, isn't there something you want to tell me? Melissa. Oh, what do you mean? Kayaka. Maybe it's not what Izuku expected, but I know you have feelings for Izuku. Izuku would be very surprised to know that, giving Kayaka to understand that he did not expect that. Melissa. Being so red that a tomato would be jealous of Melissa, see how? Izuku. So that's true. Melissa. Now she was almost reaching Hinata's blushing level. Kayaka. If you want, we can talk about this when we return to Japan, and by the way, you have a date with Izuku. Izuku. Yes, of course. Wait. What? Kayaka. I'll clarify it later. After that Melissa retired to her room very nervous on the verge of cardiac arrest, and Kayaka and Izuku lay down in their respective beds to rest and enjoy a small celebration that would take place the next day. Confession and appointment. After a few days the young people would return to Japan. They would give them 1 week to rest due to the problems caused on Island and by the trip. But now we focus on the room of a certain immortal with his girlfriend and a blonde-haired girl. Izuku. There's no need for you to be here, Kayaka. Kayaka. Do you want to argue with me? Izuku. Whenever you want to start. Melissa. Why this situation? Simple. Kayaka asked Melissa to explain why she likes Izuku. Melissa was super nervous because she would tell Izuku, but she was even more nervous knowing that Kayaka would also hear it. Melissa. Okay, she said that out loud, but in her mind she only heard don't faint, don't faint, don't faint. This gave Kayaka some grace as she listened to all of that. Kayaka. Izuku. Izuku. Yes. Kayaka. Go get a bucket of water. Izuku. I'd rather not ask. After going for the bucket of water. Kayaka. Could you tell us how you fell in love with Izuku? Melissa. It was since you saved me in the entrance exam. As you know, the OFA causes a great pressure on my body when using it. Both nod to what was said before. If I used it, I would be very exhausted or even hurt a lot. The bones wouldn't break, but my muscles would be torn and very sore. If I used the OFA, I wouldn't be able to move, and if I didn't move surely I wouldn't be here now before. No one approached me or helped me because of my quirkless condition, but you were the only one who approached me, offered me his friendship, and helped me without asking for anything in return, and also without knowing that I am the daughter of David Shield, the greatest and most famous creator of inventions for heroes. I don't know if it is like that in the anime, but let's suppose so. You never saw me differently or treated me differently like that, Ichako. Izuku. Wait, what do you mean? Hayaka. I'm not aware of that either, could you explain to us what you mean? Melissa. Okay. Flashback. Narrated by Melissa. After I was cured thanks to Recovery Girl, they took me to a room to rest since I needed it. It took about 15 minutes until Ichako arrived. She asked me if I knew you, I said no. She thought I was quirkless for not showing my quirk, and she started telling me what I was doing there, that it wasn't a place for people like me and many more things. After a while, Lita and Mineta arrived and they followed her, but with more personal insults. Even the grape with legs wanted to get along with me if it weren't because Uncle Might arrived. I don't know what would have happened. Then flashback. A very imbecile narrator tells who knows why he is still an imbecile. Melissa couldn't help but cry as she told this story because even though she had heard the insult so much, it didn't take away the fact that they hurt her. Izuku quickly hugged her so Melissa could cry on his shoulder to let out her feelings, since with that little story, he understood how important he is to her and why he fell in love with her. Hayaka. I see that you have been through a lot even now. Izuku. Don't worry, I highly doubt they'll keep bothering you, I give you my word. Hayaka. Lay her down on your bed, Izuku. Izuku. How come? Hayaka. Because he already fell asleep. After that they let Melissa rest in Izuku's bed while they went to make something to eat, completely ignoring everyone except Bakugo and Kirishima, who asked them who happened to Melissa. Bakugo. Hey nerd. What happened to the blonde 4 eyes? Izuku. Let's say he's resting in my bed. Kirishima. Why do you say he's resting in your bed? Hayaka. We'll explain later because the biggest gossips in UA are here and the truth is it's a delicate matter. Bakugo. I'll accept it only if you make me food. Izuku. Lazy. Bakugo. What did you say, damn Deku? Izuku. Nothing. Bakugo. I thought so, turning around. Izuku. Shitty asshole. Bakugo. Now I heard you, damn it. Izuku. Either you get even or I make you eat, but not both. Bakugo would just sit waiting for the food with a face of I hate you, and in his head he only heard shine, 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 shiny. This was very funny to Kayaka to the point of having a fit of laughter. Nobody understood why until he told them what Bakugo thought, to whom they told him to go outside to explode some rocks and then come back. What they found funniest was that he didn't hesitate to run outside to explode things. After 30 minutes Izuku finished cooking and the 4 had started to eat. After a while they would have finished eating. Kirishima had to wash the dishes and this Izuku and Kayaka would have taken some food for Melissa, who when they arrived was already awake. Izuku. Opening the door, or you already woke up. Melissa. Hey. Kayaka. We brought you something to eat since we thought you might be hungry. Melissa. Thank you so much. After a while of Melissa eating. Melissa. Who cooked? Izuku. I eat meringues. Melissa. It's the most delicious thing I've ever tasted. Po, you could make me food every day, while playing with her fingers Hinata style. Izuku. Sure, I have no problem. Hayaka. Before we get to another topic, Izuku. Izuku. Okay, Melissa. Melissa. Yes. Izuku. Would you like to go on a date with me tomorrow? Melissa. Hayaka. If you want to explode, just do it. Melissa. Yes. Izuku. I'll see you tomorrow at the UA entrance at 12 to go to the meeting. Melissa. Hi. I would say this with great happiness. Hayaka. Whispering, if I find out I'm not enjoying the date. This would have terrified Izuku since he didn't want to know what Kayaka would do to him. Hayaka. And do what you want, that's right, if I find out that Izuku is no longer a virgin. Melissa would have turned very red thinking about Izuku and her in a bed, just with it she had a pretty strong nasal discharge and was knocked out. Izuku. Great, you already broke it. Hayaka. That goes for you too, with a murderous face. Izuku. Okay, I understand, just help me take her to her room. Hayaka. And why me? Izuku. Because you left her like that, because it would be weird if I carried an unconscious Melissa, and because some girls wouldn't let me get to Melissa's room. Hayaka. I have no argument against that logic. After that they would take Melissa to her room to let her rest and call it a day. Appointment. Right now we see Izuku waiting at a fountain in a shopping center for his companion. Izuku. I still can't believe that Kayaka forced me to do this, and on top of that, she's not upset and is in favor of this, but oh well, what can you do? Melissa. Izuku-kun. Melissa was running towards Izuku since let's just say she and watches don't get along very well, so to speak. Izuku. Melissa. Melissa comes to him, I'm glad you came, hugging her. Melissa. I'm sorry I'm late, hugging back, did I keep you waiting too long? Izuku. No, I just got here. The truth is that Melissa made him wait for 1:30. Tell me who they made wait so long, but anyway, are we leaving? Offering his arm like the gentleman he is. Melissa. Somewhat red from holding Izuku's arm, oh of course, where are we going? Izuku. First we'll go to a restaurant that in my humble opinion, it's the most delicious thing I've ever tried. It's a buffet restaurant. Melissa. What's her name? Izuku. It's called La Vaca. I'm not making this up, there really is a restaurant like that and it's delicious, 100% recommended. Melissa. And what do they have there? Izuku. It's a buffet that has everything: shrimp, octopus, aguachile, cuts of meat, salads, Mexican food, pasta, sushi and a large dessert table. I don't remember what exactly it had, that's what I remember, also it's cheap for all you can eat. Melissa. How much is it? Izuku. As far as I know, it's $300 Mexican pesos, that is, 1770 win yen, but because we're UA students, they charge us 900 yen, that would be approximately 152 Mexican pesos. Melissa. Is the restaurant of Mexican origin? Izuku. I think so. Melissa. Sounds delicious and I'm hungry. Izuku. It's 2 blocks from here, it's not far, let's go. After walking for a while they would see that there were people waiting for a table at the Vaca. Melissa. It's full. Izuku. Wait a minute. Izuku would approach where the person in charge of taking the customers to their tables was, I don't know how to call them, and after a few seconds Izuku would signal to Melissa that they could come in. Melissa. Wow. Melissa would be surprised by the wide variety of food there and the huge dessert table, although the latter made her mouth water. Izuku. Let's go to our table and then you can order whatever you want. After a few seconds they would arrive at their table where Izuku would tell Melissa to serve herself first and then he would go. Without wasting any time, Melissa quickly went to serve herself some cuts of meat, some pasta that looked very good, some rice, a Uraraka and a gordita. The last two were more for tasting than anything else. After a while, Melissa would arrive and would have seen that Izuku had asked to drink a good wine. Melissa. Why didn't you ask me for something to drink? With an adorable pout. Izuku. You didn't tell me you'd like to take. Waiter, would you like something to drink, miss? Melissa. Kaya. Waiter. Excuse me for scaring you, with an anime-style sweat drop. Melissa. I would like you to bring me the same thing as him, pointing at Izuku. Waiter. Okay, we'll bring it to you in a moment. Leaves. Izuku. If you want to start ahead I'll go for my own. Melissa. Okay. Izuku would have served himself a fairly large cut of meat, a rib, pasta, rice, ceviche, 2 chicharon gorditas and an aguachile. Izuku would arrive at his table incredibly without throwing anything away. Melissa. You were really hungry. Izuku. It's all about eating until you drop. Melissa. It seems that if you like the food here. Izuku. Haven't you started eating? Melissa. I decided to wait until you arrived so we could eat together. Izuku. Thank you. Both of you. Bon appetit. Melissa. Taking the first bite of her cut of meat, imagine her face saying I'm in heaven, this is delicious. Izuku. I knew you'd like it. After a while eating and talking among themselves, Izuku would pay the bill like the gentleman he is, and they would leave there heading to a more secluded place, but with a very beautiful view. I forgot to say that when they went to the Vaca it was 2:30 and when they came out it was already 5:45. When you eat like that, time flies. Melissa. This is very beautiful, Izuku's easy. Izuku. Yep. Melissa. It's a shame the date is already over. Izuku. Actually, there's still one more thing to do, but first, I want to know something. Melissa. And what would that be? Izuku. Melissa, as far as I know you're a fan of the Caligulus, or am I wrong? Melissa. It's true, I love Caligulus, but why do you want to know that? Izuku. Did you know they were going to be in the city today? Melissa. Yes, but I didn't have time to buy tickets. Izuku. What if I told you we're going to see the Caligulus? Melissa. But there are no more tickets. Izuku. Well, let me tell you, we're going to the happiest show in the world, showing 2 tickets that said the happiest show in the world. Melissa. Izuku, with tears of happiness in her eyes and rushing towards Izuku, giving him a kiss on the lips, which Izuku would reciprocate after a few seconds. This is the best thing that could have been given to me. Izuku. How about we head there now? It starts at 8 o'clock at 6:05, but if we want good spots we have to get there early. Melissa. Let's go. Izuku. Okay. After 40 minutes they would arrive at the place where there would not be many people waiting for the access to open, since it opened 1 hour before they started. As the minutes passed, they would see that a very long line had formed, thanking all the saints there were, and will be for having arrived early. After 15 minutes they would begin to open the access where Izuku and Melissa would first buy something to drink and then go to where the stage was to have a very good view. Melissa. I'm so nervous, I can't wait for them to start. Izuku. You've never been to one of their concerts, right? Melissa. They weren't doing concerts in the US, and it's the first time they've done a tour like this, and I've also been wanting to see them for a long time, and you've made it come true for me." This last bit was already in a brittle tone, and with some tears of joy clinging to Izuku's body in a hug. "Izuku. Don't cry, Melissa, someone so beautiful shouldn't cry." Melissa would blush at what Izuku said, and they would decide to waste time talking until the concert started. "If you want to see the concert, here it is. If you don't want to see it, then don't watch it, but I have to say it was a very good concert." After the concert ended, Izuku would be carrying Melissa, since she would have gotten very tired from all the shouting and jumping, and would have almost lost her voice. "Izuku. I see you had a great time, right?" Melissa would only attend to what Izuku said, and he, still carrying her in his arms, would only laugh a little and continue on his way to the UA dorms, where upon arriving Izuku would take Melissa to her room, and then he would go to his own, finally ending that wonderful day, according to Melissa's words. Melissa. About to sleep, and in a whisper, "This was the best day of my life." Izuku. I just have to wait for what Kayaka says. Make in preparation. After the events of the last chapter, it would be seen that in the room of our favorite fox, Izuku and Kayaka were talking quietly. Kayaka. And how did you and Melissa spend your time yesterday? Izuku. Pretty good, I fulfilled a dream, and I think I enjoy it a lot. Kayaka. Really? Obviously she misunderstood him and wanted to kill Izuku. Izuku. Don't misunderstand. Kayaka. With a shotgun in hand that no one knows where she got it from, explain yourself now or else, loading the gun and pointing it at his balls. Izuku. Where did you get that shotgun? He said it with monumental fear. Kayaka. Here, I ask the questions. Now answer what I ask you. Izuku. We just went to a concert. Kayaka. What was the concert about? Izuku. To the Quirkless. Kayaka. I let you pass, stopping pointing at him, now I'm going with Melissa. Izuku. Before. Kayaka. See. Izuku. Leave the weapon before leaving. Kayaka. It's for safety, reloading the gun. Izuku. Either you leave the weapon or I'm going to go and see how I can help them, and I'll forget everything I've been through until today. Kayaka. With nervousness in her voice, you wouldn't. Izuku. Are you challenging me? While taking his passport out of a drawer. Kayaka. No, while throwing the gun at Izuku and running to Melissa's room. Izuku. Very well, now I must find a place where I can't find the Kayaka weapon, I need the help of a Muslim. Meanwhile in Melissa's room. Kayaka would have arrived at the door of Melissa's room somewhat agitated. Kayaka. Why didn't I think of flying here? Giving herself a facepalm. Inside the room there was a very happy Melissa for her date from the day before, who was looking at the photos and videos from the day before until she heard someone knocking on the door, so she got up, and when she opened it, she was surprised to see Kayaka. Melissa. Hello Kayaka, with tremendous joy. Kayaka. Hi Melissa, Edo, can I come in? Melissa. Of course, come in, she said with a smile and stepping aside to let him in. Kayaka, seeing Melissa's attitude, would start to devise ways to torture both of them if they did it. Melissa. Not to sound rude, but why are you coming to my room? Kayaka. I'll be direct. Melissa. Okay. Kayaka. What did you and Izuku do on your date yesterday? Melissa. First we went to eat at a buffet restaurant called Lavaka, which by the way the food there was delicious 10 tenths. Kayaka. Okay, well Kayaka was thinking about going to try the food of the place. Melissa. Then we went to a somewhat secluded area, but with a very beautiful view, and there he showed me and said something that I loved. Kayaka. In her head, if that's what I'm thinking, I'll kill him. Melissa. She told me we were going to see my favorite band on their 20th anniversary, and it was the first time I would see the band. It was truly a dream come true for me. Kayaka. Which group is your favorite? Melissa. They are the Quirkless. Kayaka. Were you really in the city? Melissa. Yep, I don't know if they're going to come back, but at least I've managed to fulfill my dream. Kayaka. I guess was it seeing them live? Melissa. Sip. Kayaka. Is that why you're so happy? Melissa. Sip. Kayaka. If you don't tell Izuku, I'll convince him to do it. Melissa. I don't understand. Kayaka. Relationship dating date, does that sound familiar to you? Melissa. Finally understanding and turning absurdly red, I get it. Kayaka. You have 1 hour. And Kayaka would leave there, leaving a living cauldron named Melissa, wondering if she could tell Izuku or if it was better to wait for him to tell her. While Kayaka, seeing the state in which she had left Melissa, knew that it was best for Izuku to tell Melissa. After an hour Melissa was still in her room going from a living boiler to a living tomato, only the difference is that little by little, she became a living strawberry. Whoever understood. Suddenly they would knock on her room door, taking her out of her world of unholy fantasies, and still being a little blushed, she would open the door seeing Izuku who would quickly enter the room closing the door behind him to avoid the gossips that he hates so much, especially a pink-haired one. Melissa. Izuku. What are you doing here? Back to the tomato phase. Izuku. First open the door. Melissa didn't understand until she opened the door revealing a girl next to Toru on the floor since they fell because they were leaning on the door. Mina. This is not what it seems. Izuku. You have 5 seconds to leave and you've already been there for 3. Mina and Toru would run so fast that they would leave a trail of fire, drawing a drop of sweat from Melissa and Izuku. Izuku. It wasn't that bad either. Melissa. Closing the door, what did you want to tell me? Izuku. I'll be direct and get to the point. Melissa would nod at what was said. Izuku. Do you want to be my girlfriend Melissa Shield? Melissa. But. Izuku. Kyoka agrees if not, she would already be in purgatory again long story. Melissa. She would be with a face of NMMS, but would answer with much happiness, yes Izuku Yoku yes I do, while hugging him as if her life depended on the hug. Izuku. That's good get out of there now. Melissa. She would separate from the hug seeing that Kyoka was at the door, between happy and nervous happy to see what Melissa would join her in their relationship, and she would finally be happy and nervous, because Izuku already had a plan to punish her, and the worst thing was that despite reading her thoughts, she didn't know what it was, and that scared her. After that moment between awkward and touching the three would start talking to each other, setting rules for the relationship between the girls, and Izuku only saw them with a face of really. And the next day Kyoka decided to shout to the four winds about the triple couple of Melissa, Izuku and Kyoka. It should be said that Mineta and Kaminari wanted to kill him until Izuku's spell tortured them and they ended up in a psychologist again already in class, as Awa would warn the boys something that would make them happy, except for Izuku and Kyoka, which did not care much about that. Izawa. I want to give you an important notice Izuku. Izuku. In Izawa's sleeping bag looking like a giant caterpillar, yeah. Izawa. I jumped out of my caterpillar costume I mean out of my sleeping bag. Izuku. Obligum pro. Izawa. Or should I ask Jiro to get you out? Izuku. That's why I said I was already giving him back his sleeping bag. Izawa. Well now what I wanted to tell you, while hugging his sleeping bag in 1 week will be the exams to get your provisional hero license. Dodo's Izuku y Kyoka. Si. Izawa. This week we're going to work on your special attacks and I hope that by the day of the exam, you'll have one to surprise your rivals since you're at a disadvantage. Mina. What do you mean by that? Izawa. Thanks to the sports festival, the others already know what their quirks are and thanks to the press conference and the fight against Afo and that guy Gallant, they already know what Izuku and Kyoka's powers are and how they work. Izuku. I don't give a shit about this they won't be able to defeat me if I use my sacred treasure. Kyoka. And they won't be able to do much to me if I use my wings and my quirk at the same time. Izawa. That's why I decided that everyone trained with Ban. Izuku Kyoka. Is this a joke? Ban. Are you asking me or the mutant caterpillar? Izuku. Send me to purgatory now but let me change and send me there now. Kyoka. Give me the weights and I'll take care of my training. Ban. Okay and the others. I'll see you at the Gamma training camp in 15 minutes. All. Hi. Provisional license exam. During the week of training with Ban, many would already have a special attack like Bakugo with his app shooter or Kirishima with the Unbreakable, others still did not have very clear how to do it and others still had to control it more, also some people like Momo and Aoyama managed to increase the duration of their quirk in the case of Aoyama and in the case of Momo, they increased the amount of things she can create. Right now the entire class 1A and 1B would be in front of the building where the exam will be held. Kirishima. Wow looks like the exam is going to be tough. Ibara. I hope God helps me and doesn't leave me alone, she said this while putting her palms together. Kyoka. True. Vlad. What's up? Kyoka. Falta Izuku. Izawa. Where is that brat? Kyoka. Bayan. You? What? Kyoka. Bring him back. Ban. Okay. Ban would open a portal from where Izuku would come out without the top part of his clothes. I think it is not necessary to say what happened, but I will explain it to you. All the women except Kyoka would have a strong blush on their faces, some would have some blood coming out of their nose, and others would simply faint either from the sight or from a nasal discharge. Kyoka. Are you facing an Endura? Izuku. Yes. Kyoka. And I beat you? Izuku. Yes. Ban. Stop trying, I've only defeated 2 Endura, one with my teammates and the other on my own by pure luck. Izuku. Whatever did you bring what I asked for Ban? Ban. Here it is, showing a briefcase where you could see a mark of a red fox with a star on its tail. Izuku. Brilliant. At that a guy from another academy would approach, being from the Shiketsu Academy, starting to bother those from UA, until a girl wearing the same uniform would approach telling him to stop bothering them and apologize. In effect, he apologized, but his bow was so low that he hit his head on the floor. All the time he was with a very happy attitude until he saw Shoto, where he put on a serious face, but that would be while he left. On the other hand, the girl who scolded him would stare at Izuku, who did not care if they saw him, since he was still with his torso naked. After both boys left with their classmates, they would be informed that the boy, I don't remember his name, was one of those recommended to enter UA, but he ended up rejecting the offer and decided to join Shiketsu, which would impress both classes, until Ms. Joke arrived, who was basically flirting with Izawa, who looked between annoyed and tired. After a while both classes would go to a locker room where they would change into their hero costume, and from there they would go to a room where they would all be meeting waiting for instructions. There were still some missing, among them was Izuku, who when he arrived, surprised his classmates, and Kyoka would bring a tear of nostalgia to see those clothes again. That's what Izuku brings. After a while, the instructor, who looked like a living dead, explained the first test, which was the one with the targets and balls, the same as in the anime, giving a few seconds for the targets to be placed, so that later the walls would fall outwards, giving a view of what looked like a big city. The instructor informed them that they had 5 minutes to position themselves wherever they wanted, and during that time it was forbidden to attack each other, and whoever tried would be automatically disqualified. After 5 minutes the test would begin. It should be noted that neither Izuku nor Kyoka had moved, they remained in the same place. Izuku would occupy zero site to knock out all those who were going for them, which were few, making Kyoka and Izuku pass the test, and Melissa, who had not separated much from the duo, saw her opportunity and took advantage of it, passing the test too. All the others happened in a very similar way to the original story. After that everything would happen, as in the original story, up to where the Great Orca would appear. Correct me if I wrote it wrong. Izuku would be in charge of facing him, while the Shiketsu boy and Shoto tried to defeat the henchman, doing a terrible job being saved by Kyoka by her sound waves, combined with her magic, which knocked out the henchman, and Izuku kept the Great Orca entertained, while Kyoka saved the civilians. And Izuku did so well, keeping the Great Orca entertained, which could not escape or do anything to Izuku. Ending after a while the test would end, and they would give 15 minutes for them to rest and change, so that later they would be given the results, and at the same time those who passed their licenses and those who did not would be informed when they could take the exam again. In short, the same people passed as in the anime, except for Shoto and the Shiketsu boy, since Bakugo, being less aggressive than in the original story, would have managed to pass, and Kami would have been Toga anyway, but on this occasion, she wouldn't have been able to draw blood from Izuku, but she could draw blood from Bakugo, not in the same way, but she still managed to draw blood. Bringing that exhausting day to a close. The calm before the storm. After the events of the last chapter, Izuku would be in Kyoka's room thinking what to do, since the day was Saturday, and there was nothing to do since the others either went to the mall or dedicated themselves to training and improving. Melissa, on the other hand, upon hearing that her father went to Japan to visit Almight, Melissa already dedicated that weekend to be with him, so Kyoka and Izuku would not know what to do. Kyoka. I'm bored. Izuku. I'm still thinking about what to do. Kyoka. You've been thinking about what to do for 40 minutes. Izuku. Do you want to think about it yourself? Kyoka. And I can wait even longer. Izuku. What do you think if we go out? Kyoka. What if I think what to do? Izuku. So you don't want to go to that concert? Kyoka. Keep your phone memory and a lot of battery life. Izuku. Let's go, we'll leave now, get hungry, and then we'll go to the concert tonight, already prepared. Kyoka. I'm lazy. Izuku. I think Kirishima wanted 2 tickets to that concert. Kyoka. I'm no longer lazy. Izuku. You see how people understand each other with words. Kyoka. Shut up and change. After 15 minutes, both would have more comfortable clothes since they were still in their pajamas. Well, Izuku only put on the top part of his clothes, and Kyoka changed completely since she was wearing pajamas. After they changed, they decided to go to a park where not many people passed by, but it was a very beautiful park. Kyoka. The air feels so good. Izuku. Considering that it's really hot today and you usually lock yourself in your room either because I'm with you or because you don't want anyone to bother you, it's normal for you to say that. Kyoka. What do you think if we go sit in the shade of that tree and you tell me how you are doing in defeating an Endura? Izuku. I still have a long way to go, those things don't die with anything. Kyoka. And have you tried having help? Izuku. Help from whom? No one else but Ban and I can enter purgatory, and Hawk and his brother are practically incapable of doing anything. Hyoka. Good point. Have you already tried to create a new technique? Izuku. No, hey, yeah, I haven't tried to do a new technique. Well, in fact, I've tried to learn on my own a technique that Ban didn't teach me. Hyoka. And what is that? Izuku. That would be physical harassment. I've been practicing it and I'm not doing it very well. Hyoka. I assume you want to evolve it to absorb power infinitely, right? Izuku. Indeed, I already have an idea of what to do, but first I want to try it out in purgatory, but for today I want to relax and spend the day with you. Hyoka. How cute. After spending a little more time there, it would be 3 in the afternoon. I clarified that they arrived at 2:15, where they would be hungry, but they would decide to go eat until 5, so that they wouldn't be hungry at the concert, which was at 8. When they arrived at 5 o'clock, they decided to go to a restaurant where they sold burritos. The place was called Dogs and Donkeys, where there were quite large burritos, wings, also hot dogs, but these were 25 centimeters, 50 centimeters and even 75 centimeters. When they arrived, they would ask for a 50 centimeters 1 and 2 soft drinks to be able to pass the food. They would finish eating at 6:30 and would leave for the concert, arriving at 7:12, having time to look at t-shirts, records, necklaces and other things before entering and getting good seats, since the place was packed, because these concerts were highly anticipated, and because they had rarely been to Japan. And you may wonder what concert I'm talking about. Well, very easy, I'm talking about a Rammstein concert. Comment on who knew them before reading this, because I think many might know them. After the concert they would go to the band's house because if they returned to the dorms they might be scolded. Upon arriving, they realized that Ban was completely knocked out on the floor due to the amount of alcohol he had consumed, as he was lying on top of a mountain of empty bottles. Izuku would take Hyoka to his old room, which was soundproof because Izuku sometimes, when training in his room with the noise he made, would wake up Ban, who would get upset, and as a solution, they ended up soundproofing Izuku's room. Hyoka. Is that why your room is soundproof? Izuku. Yes, but it also works for other things. Saying this, he would have approached Kyoka's ear, whispering it in a tone between joking and seductive. Lemon skipped. A couple of minutes passed and Izuku came inside Kyoka, who, upon feeling Izuku's semen inside her, would come herself. Kyoka thought that would be all for that night until she realized that Izuku's penis was still hard as a rock, implying that they weren't done yet. Kyoka, knowing that this was going to continue for a long time and realizing that she wasn't going to need protection, decided to just enjoy it and worry about that later. And that's how they spent the night, changing positions, doggy style, missionary. Sometimes Izuku would carry Kyoka or lean her against a wall, hitting it hard and Masiso against the floor, staying like that from 10 at night until 4 in the morning, when they finished, after Kyoka was covered in Izuku's semen, since he came in her around 15 times, maybe a little more, but in the end, they both got very tired and fell asleep, both being very happy. Elsewhere. I hope you enjoy these days, Sin of Greed, because they will soon be over. So he's the target. Watching a screen where the video of Galen's massacre in front of Izuku is playing. That's right, so we're counting on you and your team. Even doubt offends. Thanks for helping us, Bellion. A new enemy appears and a new challenge for humanity. After Izuku and Kyoka had such a hectic night and morning, our two protagonists ended up waking up at around 11 in the morning, the first to wake up being Izuku, who had a slight headache, but after turning around to look down, he would find a naked Kyoka lying on Izuku's chest. Upon seeing her, he would decide not to wake her up and instead watch her for a while longer, since from his point of view, she looked beautiful sleeping like that for about 7 minutes, which was when Kyoka woke up. Upon seeing where she was lying, she would blush a little, but after remembering what they had done last night, she would blush a lot, and after hearing Izuku speak, apart from being scared, she would get quite nervous and blush even more. Izuku. Good morning, darling, he would say this with his typical smile and whispering in her ear. Kyoka. Kaya, she clearly got scared and stood up suddenly from Izuku's chest while covering her face with her hands. Izuku. I see you woke up with a lot of energy, saying it with a big smile and his mocking tone. Kyoka. Boo, sorry love, I just didn't expect you to be awake, and good morning, she would say this last bit when she was more relaxed and with a sweet smile. Izuku. While getting up, looks for his pants and puts them on. I'm going to make breakfast and see if Ban is still here, or if he's already left. In the meantime, you can shower, change your weight here for me to make breakfast. Kyoka. While covering her body with a sheet and playing with her fingers and jacks, I would like to take a bath, but I can't feel my legs. Izuku. Let me go prepare your bath and I'll take you there in a moment. After a while Izuku prepared the bath and carried Kyoka to the tub where she relaxed, while Izuku went down to make a delicious breakfast, and meanwhile Kyoka would have finished bathing and using her ability to levitate she would leave the bathroom, and with her powers she would create, like King, new clothes since the other ones were soaked with Izuku's semen and she wanted to do the laundry first. This is how she ended up dressing using some of Izuku's old clothes that were in the closet. Kyoka. Thinking, I hope Izuku doesn't mind that I did this to his clothes. After thinking that, still using his levitation, he would go down to the lower floor, seeing Izuku finishing putting the breakfasts on the table. Kyoka. Love question and ban. Izuku. According to the note on the fridge with Mitsuki, I'm starting to think they're already in a relationship or something. Kyoka. Well. Izuku. Still can't feel your legs. With a mocking tone and a big smile. Kyoka. Well, blushing, it's your fault, looking away with a cute pout. Izuku. Well, come to the table, this is getting cold. Kyoka would go sit down and turn on the TV to find out how the world was doing. After a few minutes they would have finished breakfast and were now sitting on the couch after washing the dishes between the two of them, but they would be surprised to see the news. Reporter. This is very bad, those red things have appeared from black portals. It is believed that the League of Villains is behind this. Wait, I have been informed that there are not only those red things, but there are also gray ones, and a huge white thing. They are all very dangerous and powerful. It is recommended not to approach the center, since a fierce battle is taking place there. We leave you the images of these monsters. Izuku. This is bad, top tier pro heroes could take on the gray demon, but an Albion is something else. Kyoka. We have to go to the center quickly. Izuku. I'm going downtown, you go and find Ban so he can help me and you can also help people get to safety. Kyoka. Okay. Let's move to the city center. Endeavor. These things are even harder to kill than Nomus. Mirko. How the hell do these things kill? Ryukyu. Mirko, be careful. At that Mirko would turn to look behind her, seeing a grey demon which was about to kill Mirko until it was heard in the distance. Izuku. Fox hunt. But that they would see that a purple whip would enter the demon's body, taking out what appeared to be his hearts, killing him instantly and saving Mirko. Endeavor. Boy, what are you doing here? Izuku. Finish them off since you can't beat them. Ryukyu. How are you so sure of that? Izuku. Because to kill them you have to destroy or take out their hearts. Mount Lady. What do you mean by their hearts? Izuku. These are red and grey demons, they are just pawns. All demons have more than one heart, and to finish them off it is necessary to destroy their hearts. Also the red demon is weaker than the grey one. Endeavor. And how will we know where to attack? Izuku. I can't tell you because the demons will simply kill you before you get a single heart from them. Hamui Woods. How are you so sure of that? Izuku. Because I've already faced many red, grey, blue, and Albion demons. After saying that, without wasting any more time using his 3 chacos, he would start killing all the demons that were present there. Mount Lady. How is it possible that he can take on all of them and we could barely take on 5 of them? And that they would feel how it began to tremble seeing the thin Albion, which in the words of the heroes was really enormous, since it was much bigger than Mount Lady, and by far the Albion would be preparing to launch a very powerful magical power, and the heroes were scared thinking about what to do until they saw Izuku jump towards it. Endeavor. What is that idiot doing? He's going to kill him. At that point, Albion would launch the attack which would be returned by Izuku with the help of his full counter. Izuku. Falling back to the floor, heroes, you'd better leave because here all you do is get in my way. Mirko. What are you saying? Don't think you're so much for having done that. Izuku. I didn't mean it for those demons. Midnight. So who were you talking about? Izuku. For them, he would say it while pointing with a finger at the top of a building where there were 9 silhouettes that gave off a very great and very dark power. In that, those 9 figures would come down, finally revealing themselves. I see you were able to detect us. You're going to pay for what you did to Galland. Izuku. As if I care what you say, cheap copy of Galland. Calm down now, pump. Pump. But Bellion. Enough already, listen to Bellion or I'll shut you up. Bellion. Don't be so rude to the Zeldris. Izuku. Wow, you took a long time, Ban. Ban. I know, but Jiro arrived a little late for me. Zeldris. Ban, the undead member of the 7 deadly sins known as the Fox of Greed. I have a score to settle with you, damn it. Ban. Well, here I am, Melascula. Izuku. Why don't we stop talking and get to the important stuff? Also, as far as I remember, none of you have your commandment yet. Zeldris. We don't need them to finish you off. Deadshot. Who are they? Izuku. The 3 of them, pointing to Zeldris, Melascula, and a deformed mass of dark matter with many grey demon faces, are what remains of the Demon King's elite, the 10 Commandments. Ban. And those 6, pointing to the rest, are the 6 knights in black according to our captain. They were as powerful as the 10 commandments, but because of their hunger, the Demon King abandoned them to their fate, being unable to use dark matter again like the 10 commandments. Hyoka. Heroes, you need to retreat, you can't beat them. Endeavor. And you can beat them. Hyoka. Nope, I can barely put up a fight against an Albion, but I can't even imagine taking on a commandment or the weakest of the Black Knights. Izawa. So what are you going to do? Hyoka. I'll take care of getting the civilians to a safe place. You should do the same because if you get involved in this fight, you're digging your own grave. Hawks. I agree with her. Urko. What the hell are you talking about, Hawks? Endeavor. The little girl is right, we could barely handle those red and gray things, and they were the weakest pawns. If we couldn't handle the weakest, we won't be able to handle the strongest. Before I forget, since Izuku arrived, the reporters on helicopters have been recording and reporting everything to the whole country, even the conversations they have had. Urko. Damn. Ryukyu. What is your name? Hyoka. I'm Elaine. Izawa. Okay Elaine, guide us. The final battle has begun. Once the heroes retreated to help the civilians along with Hyoka, Ban would have taken out his 3 Chacos, while Izuku took out Karak House preparing to start fighting, while the commandments and knights in black also prepared to start fighting. When they launched themselves against each other, Izuku would have gone for Dahaka, Atala, Durakio, Gala and Pump, while Ban launched himself against Zeldris, Melascula, Grerode and Bellion. In Izuku's battle, a winner was clearly seen because Dahaka could not get too close or do much, because Izuku could keep those he wanted away and bring those he wanted closer. Gala limited himself to making Durakio stronger, since not having red or grey demons nearby and not having time to create puppets was not much he could do. Pump tried to paralyze him, but when he remembered his immortality, instead of doing that he dedicated himself only to bothering him to avoid counterattacks. Durakio was the one who kept Izuku busy most of the time along with Atala, since one tried to finish him off with spells and the other with brute force, until it occurred to them to make a joint attack, with which according to them they were going to win. After a few seconds everyone had their attack ready and decided to launch it, but the problem for them was when Izuku occupied the full counter, since at the moment of doing it the knights in black realized that they gave him the victory, and in this way Izuku got kill all the knights in black, deciding now to go help Ban since Izuku knew that Zeldris and Bellion could be a real pain. On the other hand, with Ban's battle there was a clear disadvantage on Ban's part, since he did not have his sacred treasure or his immortality. It was costing him to fight against all of them at once. In addition to Bellion, having a very powerful telekinesis power was not making it easy for him along with Grerode. In addition to Melascula, every time she could summon a red or grey demon to bother him, and in this way Zeldris could hit him with several attacks which caused Ban to lose strength and losing ground over time until Ban occupied the Hunter Fest, leaving them this time at a disadvantage due to the loss of power and the increase in Ban's strength. Which is why Melascula with the help of Grerode would have decided to summon one Endura, which upon arrival would face Ban who had many problems, but in the end would end up killing him. The problem was that he ended up very injured and very tired. The good thing was that Izuku came to help Ban during that time, but Izuku decided to attack the commandments instead of him. Endura as the commandments were slowly recovering until Izuku arrived and was forcing them to retreat until Zeldris used his ominous nebula ability, which ended up doing some damage to Izuku, but leaving Ban already too damaged. Although he also ended up damaging his allies, but not as much as Ban, who was already struggling to breathe and stay standing until Zeldris decided to finish the technique since he was already very tired and Izuku decided to take advantage and attack him, but Grerode and Melascula got in the way, being the first to die from the attack Grerode and then Melascula, but before the latter died, she managed to summon another Endura, giving Bellion and Zeldris time to escape, keeping Izuku busy, which kept the beast at bay. While all this was happening, Hyoka and the heroes managed to evacuate all the civilians from the area, and through a giant screen, they were watching the incredible battle, making the heroes understand that there was no way they would have been able to do anything against these enemies. At the same time, they were impressed to see the enormous power of Izuku and Ban, but everything was about to take a not so good turn. While Izuku was fighting against the Endura, he decided to release his sacred treasure while occupying the Hunter Fest Heisei, being able to take advantage of the Endura, but he did not realize that a failed attack from the Endura was directed at Ban, who, no longer being able to move, resigned himself and decided to finally accept his death, and after so much power to be right with his beloved in the other world, so that when the attack collided, he only managed to scream from the pain of that attack to finally fall dead. Izuku, realizing this, would get so angry that all his anger was directed directly at the Endura, hitting him wildly so that after 2 minutes the Endura finally fell dead, but also left an emotionally devastated Izuku since he lost his father figure and the only one he trusted in. The heroes seeing this would be impressed to see how Ban had died. Kyoka would be shocked and sad about this. The entire UA could not even believe it since according to them nothing could against Ban, but apparently they could against him. Melissa being in the United States would not have found out about anything until Kyoka after seeing this called her and told her what happened in a very summarized way. Class A, especially a green-haired one, would be in shock. Not only to see what her little brother could do against beings of such magnitude, but to see that Izuku really appreciated Ban to the point of killing one of the most powerful creatures that exist due to the anger that Izuku had at that moment. Mitsuki was crying since she was beginning to feel something for Ban, and seeing how he died would have made her very sad, and Kitsuki was very worried about how his childhood friend would be. While all this was happening, Izuku stopped crying and instead decided to go look for Zeldris and Bellion, who couldn't do much due to exhaustion and their injuries. While the news helicopter followed Izuku, who was following the trail of Zeldris and Bellion, everyone wanted to see what was happening now. After 5 minutes Izuku managed to reach Zeldris and Bellion who, unable to take it anymore, decided to use the little power they had left and try to defend themselves. Since they would die, they wanted to die with dignity. Izuku would have no mercy on them, so Izuku, using his maximum power, decided to kill them quickly to finally free the world from the commandments. On that day the world was freed from the greatest evil in history, but they also lost the last deadly sin, who gave his life countless times to protect his friends and loved ones, finally being able to find peace. The end. After the great battle, many wouldn't know how to react, since on one hand they were sad about Ban's loss, and on the other, they were happy that it was finally over. After 2 days, a decent funeral would have been given to Ban, in which it was noticeable how sad everyone was, especially Izuku and Kyoka, who felt an immense sadness. After the funeral a statue of Ban would be seen with a plaque that said, "Despite having suffered so much, he always tried to do good in his own way. Rest in peace Ban the Bandit." Currently our protagonist is already recognized as the successor of the Fox of Greed, being the #1 hero, Melissa the second and Kyoka being the 5th. We see in Izuku being on the couch in his house, hugging Kyoka and Melissa, which you could see that her belly was growing, and around there were many frames where you can see that they are photos of themselves younger being together looking very happy, also one from when they were in 1 degrees A. Another from 2 degrees A where you could see that 2 were missing unlike the first photo, and finally one from 3 degrees A where 2 more were missing unlike the previous frame. Melissa. What are you thinking, love? Izuku. Nothing, just everything that's happened since Ban's death. Kyoka. A lot of good things happened. Melissa. But also many bad ones. Izuku. Some we expected and others came as a surprise. Kyoka. I was more surprised by Uraraka. Izuku. I already knew it was like that, but I didn't think it would go to those extremes. It's good that when she tried it with Tamaki, Najire came and told the principal, and because of that she got expelled from school. Melissa. And what about the trio of perverts in the classroom? Kyoka. What surprised me was that it took them up to a second to discover Mineta and Shiro who the informants were. Izuku. Although Uraraka was somewhat clever in revealing that Kaminari was an informant, of course, Kaminari didn't exactly tip them off, but he did tell us there was more than one. Melissa. What memories? Kyoka. Yes. Izuku. But now we have to focus on our present and our future. Melissa. True, now that you're going to be a father and we can have what you always wanted. Kyoka. A beautiful and very happy family. Izuku. That's very true, while saying that he hugged them tighter without hurting them and kissed their heads, although there was a scandal when they told the world about their pregnancy. I don't want to imagine what it will be like when our children are born. Kyoka. One thing is for sure. Melissa. And that means we're going to be very happy. Izuku. And we're going to protect them with our lives. After saying that they would continue talking about multiple things, and something that none of the 3 realized was that behind the couch, there was a figure of Ban hugging Elaine, who looked happy to see the future they had, wishing them much happiness in their future. Izuku was someone who life spat on and kicked, reminding him how cruel reality can be, but unlike many he didn't give up. Instead he met someone who supported and cared for him, and in that moment, Izuku understood that no matter how many times life turns its back on you, no matter how many times you fall, never give up, instead get up as many times as necessary, since there is a saying that goes, the greater the fight, the more glorious the triumph. Izuku lived that firsthand and doesn't regret or deny his past, because thanks to that he met the one who gave him the opportunity he always wanted. He was able to make true friends. He got not 1, but 2 people who love him, and despite losing his father figure, he inherited not only his powers, but his title, making the sin of greed not a weakness, but proof of what he suffered and lived, making it a mark that shows life that he won that fight, becoming known as Izuku of Greed. Although some of his fans believe that Izuku's greed is just a simple title and that anyone could be called that, not only Izuku, but many heroes he works with agree that the legacy of greed will not die because it is not something that is a simple title, it is the faith and hope of one that encourages many to fight and never give up in the face of the tests that life puts them, or that was the meaning given to Izuku's greed. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.